Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto adopted by Delia Pokemon. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by WINDSTORM16, link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Sitting in their room were two 13-year-old kids, with one being a boy and the other a girl. The boy had lightly tanned skin, bright spiky blonde hair, ocean blue eyes, lightly tanned skin, and 3 unique whisker marks on his cheeks. With his attire consisting of dark orange and blue sneakers, navy blue pants, a belt to hold his pokeballs, an orange shirt, and a short-sleeved light blue jacket. While the girl had fair skin, light brown eyes, long brown hair that reached her mid-back and was kept in a ponytail. With her wearing a red and white baseball cap with a Pokeball logo on it, a black and white t-shirt, blue-green short shorts with a red waistband and a matching bow on it, and orange and white sneakers with yellow shoelaces. These two were Naruto Uzumaki and his adoptive sister, Elaine Ketchum. Currently, the two were watching a Pokemon battle between two of the Elite Four members Bruno and Agatha, with the siblings watching the match in excitement, given how strong the Elite Four are. Making it so any battle they're in is always big, even more so when battling each other. "Oh Nidorino, use sucker punch," said Bruno, with his Nidorino charging towards Agatha's Jengar as its horn was coated in a dark energy. "Aja Jengar, then put him to sleep with hypnosis," Agatha said, with Jengar jumped out of the way of Nidorino's attack before flipping over the poison type. Jengar. Jengar clapped its hands together as its eyes glowed an ethereal blue while releasing a beam of black rings, putting Nidorino to sleep. "Alright. Finish them off Jengar," Elaine cheered, eager to see Agath win the battle. "Come on, wake up Nidorino. Or switch your Pokemon out Bruno," said Naruto, wanting to see Bruno win the battle. Things aren't looking good for Nidorino, but wait, what's this? Bruno is switching him out, what Pokemon will he send out next? Said the announcer as Bruno returned Nidorino and pulled out a different Pokeball. "Let's go, Onix," said Bruno while throwing the Pokeball and releasing his Onix, with it letting out a roar as it appeared. And Bruno sends out his Onix. "Let's see how Jengar handle this colossal Pokemon," the announcer said while the crowd cheered at the sight of the large Pokemon. "Onix use bulldoze," Bruno said, with Onix let out a roar before charging Jengar and slamming its entire body on the ground, releasing a shockwave that sent Jengar flying back, crashing into the ground. Naruto and Elaine watched the battle closely, wanting to see what'll happen next and who'll come out the winner. Only to jump when their bedroom door suddenly flew open, revealing their mother, adoptive mother in Naruto's case, Delia Ketchum. Delia is a slender woman with fair skin, brown eyes, and smooth brown hair that she keeps in a ponytail with a green scrunchie. While wearing a pink short-sleeved jacket with a yellow undershirt, a purple skirt, and light green shoes. "Naruto, Elaine. It's already getting late and both of you should be sleeping right now," Delia said sternly, not wanting her children to stay up all night. "But mom, we're going to be getting our starter Pokemon tomorrow," said Elaine, not wanting to go to sleep, given her excitement that they'll officially begin their Pokemon journey tomorrow. "Yeah, how can we sleep when we're too excited at the chance of getting our first Pokemon?" Naruto added, just as excited as his sister to get their starters, with Delia sighing at their responses before grabbing the remote. "Well, if you won't sleep, then you should at least watch something to help you get ready for tomorrow. So here, watch this," said Delia while changing the channel to instead show a lecture from Professor Oak. "Good evening Pallet Town. Tomorrow's the big day for the newest group of Pokemon trainers and I'd like to introduce to you the 3 standard starter Pokemon of the Kanto region. Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle. Each of these will be available for new trainers. Which one will you choose?" said Oak as he began explaining each of the 3 starter Pokemon. "Now, both of you go to sleep when this is done and make sure to change into your pajamas," Delia said, not wanting them to end up sleeping in and missing their chances to get any Pokemon from Professor Oak's lab. "We will mom. Good night," replied Naruto while smiling at his mother, with Elaine nodding in agreement while looking at the TV. "Yeah, we will. Night mom," said Elaine, with Delia nodding before leaving the room while the 2 kids watched the lecture. Once the lecture ended, they turned the TV off before getting ready for bed and changing into their pajamas. After that was done, they got into bed, which consisted of bunk beds, with Elaine's being on top and Naruto's being on the bottom. With siblings exchanged goodnights before soon drifting off to sleep. Though in the middle of the night, Elaine began dreaming of the different starter Pokemon and which one she would choose. Raising Bulbasaur, that'd be really simple, it's perfect for beginners, Elaine muttered in her sleep while imagining picking Bulbasaur as her starter. "And there's Squirtle," said Elaine while turning in her sleep, causing her vulnerable arm clock to fall off its pedestal and into her hand. Dreaming of choosing Squirtle, Elaine unconsciously sat up and threw her clock, breaking it when it impacted the wall. "Choose it or lose it," Elaine said, smiling as she fell back and continued dreaming, while Naruto shifted in his sleep at the sudden sound of the clock breaking. Morning. Beep 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 beep. Naruto yawned as he turned off his alarm clock before sitting up and getting out of bed, only to be confused when he saw Elaine was still sleeping. I would have thought Elaine would be up way before me. Thought Naruto, knowing how excited his sister is about getting her starter, before he noticed her alarm clock was missing. Don't tell me, Naruto thought with a facepalm while looking around for it, with the Uzumaki finding the now broken alarm clock on the floor, being able to guess what happened to it. You'd think you would have learned your lesson, sis. Naruto stated with a deadpan expression while looking at his sleeping sister, having thought she'd have learned her lesson after missing Professor Oak's summer camp 4 years ago. While he could have woken her up for it, Naruto had also wanted to teach her a lesson to be more careful in making sure she got up on time for important stuff. I wonder how Go and Chloe are doing. Maybe I should see about visiting them when Elaine and I arrive in Vidian City. Thought Naruto, thinking about his two friends he met at the summer camp. Looking at his sister again, Naruto briefly considered letting her sleep in as another lesson to her before dismissing the idea. Given he didn't want her to miss a chance to get a starter, knowing how upset she'd be if she did. Besides, this'll be way more fun. Naruto thought with a smirk as he went into the bathroom and turned the water on before filling a bucket with cold water. Once the bucket was filled up, Naruto returned to their room and looked at Elaine's sleeping form. For the record, sis, I'm only doing this because I love you and because it's hilarious. Said Naruto before dumping the water on top of Elaine, with the brunette shooting up with a shriek at the sudden cold feeling. Not hydro pump. Elaine screamed, momentarily thinking it was still her dream, only to realize she was awake before glaring in annoyance at her laughing adopted brother. That's not funny, Naruto. Said Elaine as she got out of the bed while shivering lightly from the water as Naruto kept laughing. It is for me. You should have seen your face. Naruto laughed while Elaine continued glaring at him. Besides, you should thank me for waking you up, otherwise you would have missed your chance to get a starter. Especially since you did that to your clock, again. Said Naruto after he stopped laughing and pointed at the destroyed clock, causing the brunette to blush in embarrassment at seeing she broke her alarm clock again. But if I'm being honest, I'm pretty sure that even a stampeding herd of Taurus wouldn't be able to wake you up. Naruto added with a smirk, which only made Elaine's blush intensify. Yeah, well, let's just get ready. Elaine muttered when she couldn't come up with a retort before smacking Naruto's hand away when he patted her on the head. Later. After taking their showers and getting dressed, Naruto and Elaine went downstairs to see Delia making breakfast before smiling at her children. Glad to see both of you are up and ready. Though what was that shout I heard earlier? Delia asked, having heard Elaine's shriek after Naruto woke her up. Ask him. He's the one who poured cold water on me and woke me up. Exclaimed Elaine while crossing her arms and looking at Naruto with narrowed eyes. To make sure you didn't sleep in and after seeing you broke your alarm clock again. Naruto said, making Elaine grumble in annoyance, while Delia sighed. Elaine, you can't be upset at your brother for making sure you woke up on time. And really, young lady, you should start getting different alarm clocks if you're always going to end up mistaking your current one for a pokeball and breaking it in your sleep. Said Delia, not wanting her daughter to make a habit of breaking clocks on her sleep. Now come and sit down, you don't want to get your Pokemon on an empty stomach. Delia added, with all of them sitting down at the table and began eating. So, are you both excited to get your starters? What about thinking of which ones you want? Questioned Delia, though already knowing the answer, along with being curious of which ones they'll choose. Definitely. And I'm really hoping to get a Squirtle, that'll be the best. Elaine said in excitement, already knowing she wants to choose Squirtle as her starter Pokemon. Yeah, though I'm not sure which starter I'd want since they're all really great. I'll just wait to see what Professor Oak has available. Replied Naruto, since while he would want Charmander, Squirtle or Bulbasaur, he wanted a more unique starter Pokemon. Plus, while they're rare to find, it's not impossible to find those 3 Pokemon out in the wild. So he'd be able to catch them once they head out on their journey. As why settle for just one when he could catch all 3 himself? Well, just make sure to take care of whichever one you'll choose, along with any other Pokemon you catch. Delia said, with Naruto and Elaine nodding in response. Don't worry, we will. Any Pokemon we catch or meet, we'll take care of all of them. Naruto said, knowing that their Pokemon will be their friends and companions, not just used to win battles. Yeah. I'm gonna take really great care of all my Pokemon, no matter what they are. Said Elaine, not caring about how strong or weak her Pokemon will be, she'll take care of them and train them, no matter what. But their words making Delia smile, glad to know her children will treat their Pokemon right, rather than just seeing them as tools. By the way, where will you be heading to first, once you have your starters? Delia asked, wanting to know where they'll be going to first once they leave Pallet Town. We were gonna head down Route 1 and make our way to Vidian City. Though not before seeing if there were any Pokémon we could catch along the way," said Elaine, since they wanted to get some training done and maybe catch some Pokémon before reaching Vidian City. "After that we'll be heading through Diglett's cave to Vermilion City. Since Lieutenant Surge has a reputation as one of the tougher and more brutal gym leaders in Kanto, and we heard that most gym leaders tend to base their teams off the amount the gym badges the challenger has. So it would be best to challenge him while he's limited to a weaker team," Naruto added, with Delia nodding, pleased to hear they had a plan for what to do. "Plus, we can use that as a chance to catch a Diglett to give us a ground type to use against his electric type Pokémon. If we're unable to find any ground type Pokémon on Route 1. Elaine said. "Good. Knowing what to do and where to go first will help you a lot on your journey and save you from getting lost," stated Delia as they continued eating while making some small talk. Once they finished, Naruto went over and said a small prayer to a shrine set up in the living room before he and Elaine left to head for Professor Oak's lab. With Delia smiling at her children as they left before looking at the shrine with a solemn look. "I'm sure you'd both be proud of how he's turned out, Minato, Kushina," thought Delia while thinking of her late friends and Naruto's parents, Minato Namikaze and his fiancée Kushina Uzumaki. Minato had been one of Professor Oak's students alongside her, Spencer Hale, and Ushio Young. While Kushina had been an accomplished Pokémon trainer, having even been the Pokémon champion of the Indigo Elite Four. With her having eventually been succeeded by her cousin Lance after she retired when she became pregnant with Naruto. Delia was pulled from her remembrance at the sound of something flying overhead, with a woman looking out the window before smiling at the familiar Pokémon she saw in the sky. "I knew you wouldn't miss seeing them get their first Pokémon," Delia stated as she watched Dragonite land on the ground and Lance climbed off of him. With Naruto and Elaine. Meanwhile, Naruto and Elaine soon arrived at Professor Oak's lab, seeing that 3 other soon-to-be trainers had already arrived. With the siblings recognizing 2 of them as Leaf Green and Gary Oak, both of whom were childhood friends of Naruto and Elaine. Gary has auburn hair and black eyes, with his attire consisting of a long-sleeved purple shirt, a black necklace with a gold bead, dark blue pants, and brown boots. Leaf is a young girl with slightly messy dark brown hair that goes up to her lower back. Wearing a sleeveless light blue shirt with a bit of black, a short pinkish red skirt, loose light blue socks, white shoes with a pinkish red stripe in the middle, a white bucket hat with a pinkish red Pokeball logo and black wristbands. Along with carrying a bright yellow messenger bag. While the third kid had brown hair and blue eyes. Wearing a teal short-sleeved shirt with light yellow trim and a silver zipper, a dark teal vest with a light green collar, a black belt with a silver buckle, teal pants with light yellow pockets, dark blue and indigo sneakers with red dots, dark blue fingerless gloves with aqua borders, and a purple cap with a light yellow band and red buttons. "Well, if it isn't Elaine girl and Naruto boy. I'm surprised you didn't end up sleeping in Elaine," Gary said with a smirk, making Elaine look at him in annoyance. "I'm surprised you managed to pry yourself away from your cheerleaders to show up, Gary," retorted Elaine. "Oh, they'll be waiting for me once I have my Pokémon and I'm ready to go," stated Gary, making the siblings roll their eyes before looking at Leaf and the third kid. "Hey Leaf. I'm guessing this is the other new trainer?" Naruto asked, with the soon-to-be trainer nodding and holding out his hand. "Yeah, my name's Richie from Fredomer City. Nice to meet you guys," Richie introduced with a smile as Naruto and Elaine shook his hand. "You too, I'm Naruto Uzumaki and this my adoptive sister Elaine Ketchum," replied Naruto, with the brunette nodding and greeting with a smile. "Nice meeting you, Richie. And good to see you, Leaf," said Elaine, giving her fellow brunette a smile, which Leaf returned. "Glad to see you both arrive on time, Elaine. But I'm sure Naruto helped make sure you woke up. We know you can be a heavy sleeper," Leaf replied, making Elaine's smile become slightly tense. "What can I say, I was just so excited I could barely sleep. And yeah, I'm lucky to have such a kind big brother around to help me all the time," Elaine stated, causing Leaf's own smile to become tense. "I'm sure you are, just like I'm lucky to have him as a friend to help me out when I need him," said Leaf, with Elaine nodding in agreement. "Yeah, he is a good brother and friend. Of course, you can still rely on me to help you too, Leaf," replied Elaine, with Leaf's smile turning more genuine. "I know, and the same goes for you, Elaine," Leaf said. "Are they usually like that?" Richie asked quietly to Gary, not sure if Elaine and Leaf were really friends or somehow secretly insulting each other or something. "Yep," Gary said with a deadpan expression, having grown used to it and could tell by this point if they were being genuine or about to start attacking each other. Though the group's attention turned to the lab when the door opened revealing Professor Oak. Professor Oak is a middle-aged man with peach skin, gray hair, and thick bushy eyebrows. He was wearing a white lab coat, a light maroon polo shirt, a brown belt, and beige pants, and matching brown loafers. "Ah, good to see you're all here on time," Come in, and let's see about getting you 5 your starters. Oak said while smiling at the 5 soon-to-be trainers before letting them into his lab, taking them over to a machine with a glass dome and 3 pokeballs inside it, with the dome opening up. Now then Gary, since you were the first to arrive, you'll get the first choice for your starter. You have Charmander the fire type, Squirtle the water type, and Bulbasaur the grass type. Now choose your Pokémon. Oak said while letting his grandson go first, with Gary smirking and grabbing a Pokeball. I already know exactly which Pokémon I'm choosing. Let's go Squirtle, said Gary while releasing Squirtle from the Pokeball. Squirtle resembled a light blue turtle. It has large, purplish, or reddish eyes and a slightly hooked upper lip. Each of its hands and feet have 3 pointed digits. The end of its long tail curls inward. Its body is encased by a tough shell that forms and hardens after birth. This shell is brown on the top, pale yellow on the bottom, and has a thick white ridge between the 2 halves. Squirtle. Squirtle landed on the ground before looking up at its new trainer. Ready to become the best, Squirtle? Gary said with a smirk. Squirt Squirtle. Squirtle nodded and raised its fist to Gary. A good choice Gary. Now here is your Pokédex, Pokeballs, and a gift from me. Consider it a congratulation gift for taking your first step as a trainer, said Oak handing Gary his Pokédex, Pokeballs, and another Pokeball. Look at that, I'm getting 2 starters instead of 1, said Gary, looking at the others with a smirk before releasing his second Pokémon. It was a mammalian quadrupedal Pokémon with primarily brown fur. The tip of its bushy tail and its large furry collar are cream-colored. It has short, slender legs with 3 small toes and a pink paw pad on each foot. It has brown eyes, long pointed ears with dark brown interiors, and a small black nose. And it's an EV, lucky me. Gary stated, even more excited at seeing his second Pokémon was an EV, much to the envy and jealousy of the others, especially Elaine, since she'd been planning to choose Squirtle. That is just Elaine said, annoyed that Gary not only chose the starter she wanted, but also got a rare Pokémon like Eevee as a gift. What can I say Elaine girl? It pays to be the geezer's grandson, said Gary with a smirk while the others just rolled their eyes, especially Naruto and Elaine. Given the fact Lance was Naruto's first cousin once removed and their surrogate uncle overall, yet neither of them ever bragged about it. Though Naruto smirked since he knew a way to knock Gary down a few pegs, well said boy scanned his Pokémon with his Pokédex. Squirtle, the tiny turtle Pokémon. During battle, Squirtle hides in its shell that sprays water at its opponent whenever it can. Eevee, the evolution Pokémon. Eevee is rarely seen and can adapt to severe habitats by evolving, changing its capabilities and form. Squirtle. Gender. Male. Ability. Torrent. Moveset. Tail whip, water gun, withdraw, rapid spin. Egg moves. Mud sport, aquaring, muddy water, water spout. Eevee. Gender. Male. Ability. Adaptability. Moveset. Reflect, double team, tackle, take down, quick attack. Hey Daisy. Naruto said and started waving. Where? Gary said in fear that his sister was here, knowing she didn't like it when he bragged and took advantage of the perks they got from who their grandfather was. Only to see she was nowhere in sight before glaring in annoyance at the snickering Naruto and Elaine. Don't worry Gary, Daisy is currently doing some field work for me in Leaf Forest. But that's enough of that for now. Leaf, Richie you arrived at the same time, so you both get choose next. Oak said with a chuckle before getting it under control as he brought their attention back to getting their starters while handing them both their Pokeballs and Pokédexes as well. Dibs on Bulbasaur. Leaf said, smiling eagerly as she released Bulbasaur and scanned it. Bulbasaur is a small quadruped Pokémon that has blue-green skin with darker patches. It has red eyes with white pupils, pointed, ear-like structures on top of its head, and a short blunt snout with a wide mouth. A pair of small pointed teeth are visible in the upper jaw when its mouth is open. Each of its thick legs ended with 3 sharp claws. On its back is a green plant bulb, which is grown from a seed planted there at birth. The bulb provides it with energy through photosynthesis, as well as from the nutrient-rich seeds contained within. Bulbasaur, the seed Pokémon. A young Bulbasaur uses the nutrients from its seed for the energy it needs to grow. Bulbasaur. Gender. Female. Ability. Overgrow. Moveset. Tackle, growl, vine whip, growth. Egg moves. Petal dance, toxic, ingrain, curse. Ah, you're just the cutest girl ever, aren't you? And you will definitely be strong once we start training, said Leaf with a grin as she picked up Bulbasaur and hugged her. Soar. Bulbasaur smiled at her new trainer's affection. Then I guess that leaves Charmander for me, Richie said, releasing Charmander and scanning it as well. Charmander is a bipedal reptilian Pokémon with a primarily orange body and blue eyes. Its underside from the chest down and the soles of its feet are cream-colored. It has 2 small fangs visible in its upper jaw and 2 smaller fangs in its lower jaw. along with a long, slender tail with a burning flame at the tip. Charmander, the lizard Pokémon. When the tip of Charmander's tail burns brightly, that indicates it's in good health. Charmander. Gender. Male. Ability. Blaze. Mavacet. Scratch, Tackle, Ember, Smokescreen. Egg moves. Air Cutter, Flare Blitz, Dragon Dance, Ancient Power. Nice to meet you Charmander. Though how about Zippo instead? Do you like that name? Richie asked while smiling at Charmander, who smiled back. Charmander. Zippo nodded in agreement with the new name. The three then returned their Pokémon to their Pokeballs, all of them happy with what they got. Gary more so, at getting his EV as well as Squirtle. That's it then. Congratulations to you three on choosing your starters and taking your first steps as Pokémon trainers. Said Oak, with Elaine's eyes widening in panic upon seeing that now there weren't any starters left for her and Naruto, while the whiskered blonde didn't mind, since he was hoping for a different starter anyway. Well wait Professor. You've gotta have other Pokémon here, don't you? Elaine asked, worried that they won't be able to get any Pokémon. Well, I do have another Pokémon, but Oak said, only for Elaine to cut him off. I'll take it. Said Elaine quickly, not wanting to lose her chance to get a Pokémon, only to wince and look at her brother, upon seeing how selfish that sounded, with Naruto merely smiling and waving it off. Don't worry about it Elaine, I know how much you want a Pokémon. Besides, I can get a different one. Assured Naruto, willing to let her have the last one Professor Oak has. That's very kind of you Naruto. But I should warn you, this Pokémon can be rather troublesome. There's also said Oak as a compartment opened in the center of the machine, showing another Pokeball with a lightning bolt on it. I'm fine with that. But I have to have a Pokémon, please Professor. Elaine said, cutting Oak off again, making the professor sigh and hand her the Pokeball. In that case, it's yours. Oak said, making Elaine smile happily as she took the Pokeball before it opened up, revealing the Pokémon inside as it appeared on the machine. It was a short chubby rodent Pokémon. It was covered in yellow fur with two horizontal brown stripes on its back. It has a small mouth, long pointed ears with black tips, and brown eyes. Each cheek is a red circle that contains a pouch for electricity storage. It has short forearms with 5 fingers on each paw and its feet each have 3 toes. At the base of its lightning bolt-shaped tail is a patch of brown fur. Pikachu. Pikachu looked around at its surrounding before settling on Elaine. Its name is Pikachu, an electric-type Pokémon. Oak said, with Elaine soon smiling brightly at her new Pokémon. Wow, you are so cute. Elaine said while picking Pikachu up and hugging it, not seeing the annoyed look on Pikachu's face. Hi Pikachu, I'm Elaine, your new trainer. I'm sure we're gonna be great fry said Elaine, only to scream when Pikachu suddenly electrocuted her. Pikachu. I tried telling you that Pikachu can be rather troublesome and doesn't like anyone. It will also electrocute anyone that tries touching it. Oak said, as they all winced at seeing the state Elaine was in after Pikachu stopped shocking her. I see what you mean now. Elaine muttered weakly, while Gary snickered slightly at the sight. Well, I guess you did get a good Pokémon, Elaine girl. I'm sure you'll be in for plenty of more shocks in the future, with it around. Stated Gary while chuckling at his joke, making Naruto, Leaf, and Richie look at him dryly. Now Lane, are you absolutely sure you want Pikachu as your starter? Oak asked, wanting to know if she still wanted Pikachu after seeing how it acted, with Elaine looking at Pikachu, who looked at her in annoyance, before turning away. Yes, I'm sure Professor. Replied Elaine, not wanting to give up Pikachu just because it didn't like her, doubting all the Pokémon she'll catch will like her from the start and she'll have to earn their trust. Very well. Then here is your Pokédex and Pokeballs. Said Oak while handing the brunette her own Pokédex and Pokeballs. Thank you, Pro Elaine said, reaching to grab them before shouting again when Pikachu electrocuted her again. Ooh. Pikachu shocked Elaine and Professor Oak as well, making the others wince again, while Gary wasn't amused to see his grandfather being shocked as well. Hey. You want to be electrocuted Elaine, then fine. But leave the geezer out of it, you yellow rat. Said Gary, making Elaine give him a light glare at insulting her Pokémon. Hey, don't insult Pikachu like that. Elaine retorted, refusing to let him insult her starter Pokémon. I'll insult the rat however I like if it goes around shocking people. And if it tries anything again, then I'll be putting it in its place. Gary said while pulling out Squirtle's Pokeball as Pikachu looked at him with narrowed eyes at his insults before jumping out of Elaine's arms. Pikachu. Pikachu shot a bolt of lightning at Gary, who quickly ran out of the lab and released Squirtle. Squirtle, let's put that yellow rat in its place. Said Gary once they were outside. Squirtle. Squirtle nodded in agreement with his trainer and looked at Pikachu. Wait Pikachu. Just let me see what moves, you know. Elaine said, scanning Pikachu with her Pokédex to see its moves. Pikachu, the mouse Pokémon, and the evolved form of Pichu. Pikachu can help other Pikachu who are feeling weak by sharing its electric current. Pikachu. Gender. Male. Ability. Static. Moveset. Thunder Shock, Growl, Tackle, Leer, Quick Attack, Agility. Egg moves. Volt Tackle. Okay, nice moves. Alright, Pikachu use Growl. Said Elaine, wanting to weaken Squirtle's attack power first before attacking. Only for Pikachu to ignore her and instead rushed Squirtle with a white trail behind him as he used Quick Attack instead. Let me show how it's done, Elaine girl. Squirtle, use Withdraw. Gary said, with Squirtle pulling his head and limbs into his shell with a blue glow surrounding the shell, just as Pikachu slammed into the water type. Now use Tail Whip. Said Gary. Squirt Squirtle. Squirtle emerged from his shell and began hitting Pikachu in the face with his tail, lowering the mouse Pokemon's defense. Pikachu, please, we have to work together. Use Tackle to stun Squirtle while he's close, then use Thunder Shock. Elaine said, hoping that Pikachu would listen to her, only for her starter to once again ignore her. But Pikachu instead jumping back and using agility, running around Squirtle before he started vanishing and reappearing around the tiny turtle Pokemon. While Squirtle tried keeping track of Pikachu's movements but was having trouble with his speed. HMPH, Squirtle use Rapid Spin, then use Water Gun. Said Gary, Squirtle nodding before pulling his limbs back into his shell and began spinning around like a disc. Squirtle. Squirtle then shot blasts of water out of the holes that his head and limbs went in, with the spinning causing them to go everywhere until they finally hit Pikachu. Pika. Pikachu had no time to dodge as he was sent crashing into a tree by the water gun. Pikachu. Are you alright? Elaine asked, only to see Pikachu get right back up and glare at Squirtle. Pikachu. Pikachu used Thunder Shock, launching a bolt of lightning at Squirtle. Keep using Rapid Spin to deflect the lightning Squirtle and use Withdraw to boost your defense as a good measure. Gary said, as Squirtle's shell gained a blue glow. Squirt Squirtle. Squirtle. Squirtle spun around at high speeds, deflecting the Thunder Shock, only for Pikachu to take advantage of this and rush Squirtle with Quick Attack before slamming him with Tackle. Now, finish it with a point-blank water gun. Said Gary, with Squirtle popping out of his shell and blasting Pikachu with a point-blank water jet, with the electric type having no time to dodge the attack as it sent him crashing into another tree. Pikachu struggled to get up from the attacks, only to collapse, with Elaine rushing over to check on him. Are you alright, Pikachu? Said Elaine, picking him up and looking her Pokemon over in worry, while Gary returned Squirtle to his Pokeball. Pikachu. Pikachu looked tiredly up at his trainer, feeling his pride take a massive blow at just how quick and easily he was defeated and by a Pokemon that he had type advantage over, no less. Thanks for the warm-up, Elaine. At least I now know that Squirtle will be able to handle any wild Pokemon we encounter, even ones where he has a type disadvantage against, given how your Pikachu basically fought like one. I'll be going now, since I've got everything I need. Gary said before turning to leave, while Elaine looked at him in annoyance. Just wait until next time, Gary. Pikachu and I will take you down for sure. Said Elaine, with Gary simply waving mockingly at them. Whatever you say, Elaine girl. But here's some free advice, see about getting the Pikachu in line or think about swapping it for a different starter Pokemon. Said Gary as he took his leave to head out, with Elaine looking back at Pikachu. I think I'm gonna head out too, it was nice meeting you guys. And good luck on your journeys. Richie said while waving to Naruto, Elaine and Leaf before leaving as well. Don't worry, I'm not swapping you for another starter Pokemon. Elaine assured, refusing to swap Pikachu, before sighing as Naruto and Leaf went over to her. Hey, don't let it get to you. You just got Pikachu, so of course he may not listen for now. But give it time, and I'm sure you'll both be great friends. Said Leaf while smiling at her friend, with Naruto nodding in agreement. Yeah, and don't worry about losing your first battle. None of us are expected to win every battle we take part in, what matters is learning from our losses to better ourselves. Naruto added, with Elaine looking at her friend and adopted brother, before smiling slightly. Thanks guys. This just definitely wasn't how I expected my Pokemon journey to start out. Muttered Elaine while looking down, lamenting on how she hasn't even left Pallet Town, and already she has a starter that refused to listen to her and already lost her first battle. Maybe. But it did just start, so you'll have lots of time to improve and grow stronger. Both yourself and with your Pokemon. Stated Naruto, assuring his adoptive sister that things will get better. Yeah. Besides, look at it this way, at least now you won't be as upset when you eventually lose to me. Leaf said with a smirk, which Elaine returned as she stood up. In your dreams. Cause I'll be doing the beating when we battle. Replied Elaine, before the three looked to Professor Oak when he coughed to get their attention. Well, I'm glad to see you three sticking together and supporting each other. If you'd step back into my lab, we can get you your own starter, Naruto. said Oak, confusing the three. Didn't you say that Pikachu was the last Pokémon you had, Professor? Naruto asked as they went back into the lab, only to see Oak pull out a cart with numerous Pokeballs on it. I said Pikachu was another Pokémon I had, but not the last one. Some of my colleagues in other regions had sent over the starters from their own regions as well, to help with my research. And with their blessing, they allowed me to give them away to new trainers, should more than 3 show up to receive their Pokémon. That's what I was trying to tell you earlier. Said Oak, making Elaine blush in embarrassment as she remembered how she kept interrupting him, while Leaf facepalmed at her friend's eagerness and desperation to get a Pokémon. Oh my bad. But I'm still fine with keeping Pikachu. Elaine said while looking at the electric type in her arms, not minding keeping him. The IKA Pikachu looked at his trainer for a moment before jumping out of her arms and looking away with his arms crossed. Now then Naruto, here we have the Johto starters, Chikorita, Totodile, and Cyndaquil. The Hone starters, Trico, Mudkip, and Torchic. The Sinnoh starters, Turtwig, Piplup, and Chimchar. The Unova starters, Snivy, Oshawott, and Tepig. And the Kalos starters, Chispin, Froakie, and Fennekin. Now which will you choose? Oak asked, with Naruto looked at all the labeled Pokeballs with pictures of the different starters inside. I choose Totodile. Naruto said, smiling as he picked Totodile's Pokeball and released the Pokémon. Totodile is a bipedal crocodilian Pokémon with well-developed jaws. It has red eyes with ridges above them, black markings around its eyes, and several sharp teeth. On its chest is a yellow V-shaped marking that extends to its arms. There is a thin line through the center of the marking. Totodile has 5 fingers and 3 toes. Down its back is a row of 3 red spines with a small red ridge on either side. The tip of its tail has a single red spine as well. Totodile. Totodile jumped in the air kicking its legs as it did so, with Naruto crouching down and getting its attention. Hey Totodile, I'm Naruto, your new trainer. Naruto said, smiling at Totodile, who stopped and looked at him. Totodile looked at Naruto curiously. A good choice and one that will have access to a large versatile Moveset with the right training. And here is your Pokédex and Pokeballs, Naruto. Said Oak while handing Naruto the items, with the Uzumaki nodding in thanks while scanning Totodile. Totodile, the big jaw Pokémon. Its highly developed jaw is so powerful, it can crush practically anything. Trainers beware. This Pokémon loves to use its teeth. Totodile. Gender. Male. Ability. Torrent. Moves. Water Gun, Bite, Headbutt, Leer. Egg moves. Dragon Dance, Ice Punch, Mud Sport, Metal Claw. Wow, you'll definitely be a powerhouse once we start training. I'm glad to have you aboard, Totodile. Said Naruto, with Totodile grinning and jumping around his trainer. Totodile. Totodile nodded in agreement with Naruto, eager to grow stronger, before the Uzumaki returning Totodile to his Pokeball. Well, now that you all have your starters, all I can say is good luck on your journeys. Oak said, with the trio nodding in thanks before exiting the lab, with the professor joining to see them off. So Naruto, I was thinking, how'd you like to travel together with me? Leaf asked, smiling sweetly at the whiskered blonde while grabbing his arm and holding it against her chest. After all, it could get lonely out on the road and it'd be so much more fun if we traveled together. Said Leaf, eager to travel together with her crush, much to Elaine's annoyance as she grabbed Naruto's other arm and held it against her chest. Sorry Leaf, but Naruto already agreed to travel with me. Said Elaine, with both girls looking at each other with narrowed eyes. Yeah, sorry Leaf. But Elaine already asked me if we could travel together and I said yes. Naruto said, making Elaine smirk smugly at Leaf, who gave her the stink eye. Clever girl. Thought Leaf as she could just imagine Elaine giggling smugly after getting Naruto to travel with her before smirking as she got an idea. That's fine. I wouldn't mind traveling with the both of you for the time being. It'll give us plenty of more time to spend together. Leaf said, wiping the smirk off Elaine's face. No, that's fine. We wouldn't want to slow you down or anything, since I'm sure you're eager to go off on your own journey. And we are planning to take our time in traveling. Said Elaine, not wanting to miss her chance to travel alone with her brother, while knowing Leaf would use this as a chance to seduce him into being her boyfriend. That's fine, I'm more than able to take things slow. I'm sure it'd make it all the more satisfying in the end. Replied Leaf while winking at Naruto, much to Elaine's irritation at seeing the real meaning behind her words and was about to retort only for Naruto to speak. Yeah, that's fine. And it will be more fun if we all travel together, even if it's only for a while. Naruto said while smiling at his friend, glad for the chance to travel with his sister and their friend. Great. I'm happy to join you both. Leaf said with a smile, before giving Elaine her own smug smirk, while the other brunette gave her the stink eye. Why must you be so dense? Elaine thought, cursing how dense her brother can be. The four headed down the hill, where they were greeted by Delia, as well as Lance and his Dragonite, much to their surprise, with a small crow to see them off. Lance is a tall thin man with bright scarlet red spiked hair, pale skin, and dark eyes. He was wearing a medieval-looking navy blue tunic with red-orange trim, a brown belt around his waist, and large black boots with orange two rings around the top of each boot. The cuffs of his long sleeves are black with orange zigzagging trim separating the cuff from the navy blue part of the sleeve. He sports a long flowing cape around his neck which is black on the outside and crimson red on the inside. Bull Dragonite is a draconic bipedal Pokémon with light orange skin. It has large grayish-green eyes and a round snout with small nostrils. A pair of long thin antennae sprout from the top of its head with a small horn set between them. Its striated underbelly is cream-colored and extends from its neck to the tip of its long tapering tail. It has thick arms and legs ending in 3 claws each. The leg joints are well defined, while its arms have a smooth rounded appearance. Dragonite's wings are small relative to its body with teal wing membranes. "Oh man, I still can't believe you're really related to the Kanto champion," Leaf said in excitement before they scanned Dragonite with their Pokédexes. Dragonite, the dragon Pokémon. This extremely rare and highly intelligent type is able to fly faster than any known Pokémon. "Yeah, and I'm glad he's here today. Uncle Lance," Naruto said while smiling at his cousin and surrogate uncle, with Lance returning the smile and walking up to the trio. "Naruto, Elaine, I'm glad that I was able to catch you before you left. I wanted to congratulate you both on the start of your Pokémon journeys," Lance said, wanting to see them both off, with the siblings smiling and nodding. "Thanks. And we're ready for anything that comes our way," replied Elaine, getting a chuckle from the champion before he pulled out 2 Pokeballs. "I'm sure you both are, but it never hurts to have a little extra help. And I'm sure these 2 will be great help to both of you," said Lance, surprising them both before taking the Pokeballs and opening them, excited to see what Pokémon were inside. From Elaine's Pokeball came as a serpentine Pokémon with a blue body and a white underside. It has white 3-pronged fins on the sides of its head and a white bump on its forehead, which is its horn growing. Above its round, white snout are oval purple eyes. While Naruto's contained a small blue quadrupedal Pokémon with black fur covering its head and neck, concealing everything but its mouth from view. The fur around its neck also has 6 purple spots encircling it, which resemble bruises. The hair on the top of its head takes the shape of a single small horn. It also has a short tail that appears to be bitten off. "A Dratini," Elaine said, smiling in excitement at being given a Dratini. "That's right, and this one is known as a Dino, a dragon type from Unova," said Lance, much to the trio's awe before they scanned the 2 Pokémon. Dratini, the dragon Pokémon. Dratini sheds its skin as it grows, often doing so while hidden behind large powerful waterfalls. Dratini. Gender. Female. Ability. Marvel Scale. Moves. Leer, Wrap, Twister, Thunderwave. Egg moves. Extreme Speed, Dragon Breath, Mist, Water Pulse. Dino, the irate Pokémon. Because Dino never stops biting anything it can, it is dangerous to approach without taking precautions. Dino. Gender. Male. Ability. Hustle. Moves. Tackle, Focus Energy, Dragon Breath, Bite. Egg moves. Fire Fang, Thunder Fang, Ice Fang, Screech, Earth Power. "Whoa, thanks Lance. These are awesome, we'll be sure to take great care of them," said Naruto, smiling happily at his new Pokémon, with Elaine nodding in agreement. "Yeah. We'll take care of them as best as we can, along with all the other Pokémon we'll catch," Elaine said, with Lance nodding at their words. "I know you both will, and I look forward to seeing how far both of you will have come the next time we meet. Until then, good luck and do your very best," Lance said, before climbing on top of Dragonite and flying off, with Naruto and Elaine waving to him as he left, while returning their new Pokémon to their Pokeballs. "Oh man, first Gary gets an EV, now you 2 get super rare dragon Pokémon. That's just not fair," Leaf said while crossing her arms with a pout. "Don't worry, I'm sure you'll be able to get your own rare Pokémon, Leaf," said Naruto while smiling at his friend, with Elaine nodding in agreement. "Yeah, just give it time. A long time," Elaine added with a smirk, with Leaf sticking out her tongue and pulling down her eyelid. Naruto and Elaine then looked to their mother, who was holding a light brown backpack and blue backpack, which she handed to them both. "Oh Elaine, Naruto, I'm so proud of you both. You're finally going out and starting your Pokémon journeys. But I'm going to miss you both so much," Delia said, looking close to crying, before opening the bags and handing her children everything inside. "I packed your shoes, several outfits to change into, clean underwear, all your favorite snacks, gloves to do your laundry, a clothesline to hang them out to dry, sleeping bags, pajamas, soap and shampoo to stay clean. And Elaine, I made sure to pack your, Delia said before the two quickly grabbed the bags while blushing in embarrassment, with Elaine being even worse at what her mother could have potentially said. Okay, thanks mom. You don't need to show us. Said Elaine quickly, with Naruto nodding in agreement. Why yeah, thanks mom. But we'll be fine seeing everything ourselves once we leave. Naruto said, with Delia smiling at her children. I understand. Oh, is that your Pokemon, Elaine? Delia asked, seeing Pikachu beside her daughter. Pikachu? Pikachu looked up at the woman. Yep, that's my Pokemon, Pikachu. Elaine replied before sighing when Pikachu immediately turned his head away from her. Huh, I thought Pokemon stayed in their Pokeballs. Why doesn't Pikachu? Delia asked, reminding Elaine that she needed to return Pikachu to his Pokeball. Oh right. Come on Pikachu. Said Elaine, tossing the Pokeball at Pikachu, only for the mouse Pokemon to knock it back with his tail. Frowning, Elaine threw it again, only for it to be smacked back. With this repeating a few times as Pikachu refused to return to his Pokeball. Oh, how cute. You two are already playing catch together. Said Delia, smiling at what she thought was them playing. Yeah. Pikachu and I are great friends already, right Pikachu? Elaine said, picking Pikachu up and smiling at him, with Pikachu looking at her dryly. Though it does look a little weird. Delia stated, making Elaine pale and look at Pikachu, whose eye was twitching, while Naruto, Leaf, and Oak slowly backed away, knowing what was coming next. Pikachu Elaine pleaded, not wanting to get shocked again. Ooh. Pikachu used Thunder Shock, electrocuting Elaine, Delia, and the crowd of people. Good thing, she packed those rubber gloves for you. Oak said, with Naruto and Leaf nodding in agreement since it'd help them avoid being shocked if it came to that. After recovering from being shocked, Delia said goodbye to Naruto, Elaine, and Leaf, with the trio setting off down Route 1, with Pikachu still refusing to go inside his Pokeball. Okay, Pikachu, you don't like going in your Pokeball, I won't try forcing you to go in. But would you at least let me carry you? Elaine asked, crouching down next to her Pokemon, with Pikachu glancing at her for a moment before looking away only to sigh. Pikachu walked up to Elaine, willing to let her at least carry him, mostly since she was worried about him after being beaten by Squirtle, and was adamant to not abandon him for an alternative starter, with the girl smiling happily and picking Pikachu up. Thank you Pikachu. Said Elaine, happy she's starting to earn some of his trust at least. Well, it's a start at least. Leaf stated, glad to see that Pikachu was willing to let Elaine at least carry him. Yeah, and you'll have plenty of more time to earn Pikachu's trust, Elaine. Naruto added, his adoptive sister smiling and nodding in agreement. Yep. Now let's get going. Elaine said as they walked down the road. The trio ready for their Pokemon journey to officially begin, along with being ready and eager to see all the Pokemon they'll encounter along the way. The trio made their way down Route 1, before soon stopping once they were deep inside the forest and could no longer see Pallet Town. I think we've come far enough where we'll start seeing some wild Pokemon we could try catching. Stated Naruto, eager to see what Pokemon they can find and catch, with Elaine and Leaf nodding in agreement. Oh yeah. I'm ready to see what Bulbasaur can do, as well as seeing what Pokemon we'll find. Leaf said with an excited smile at the chance to catch a new Pokemon. Me too. Are you ready to start battling and meeting new Pokemon, Pikachu? Said Elaine while smiling at her starter, only for Pikachu to jump out of her arms and run up a tree, much to the trio's surprise. Wait Pikachu. You can't climb up a tree like that and there probably aren't any Pokemon there. Come on, please come down. Elaine said while holding up her arms for Pikachu to jump into them, with a mouse Pokemon instead sitting down on a branch. I pick a Pikachu. Pikachu looked at his trainer with a dry expression, as if saying I'm willing to travel with you and give you a chance, but that doesn't mean I'll battle for you. But the trio getting the message, making Elaine facepalm and let out a sigh, having hoped that Pikachu was finally starting to trust her. But the brunette guessed she still had a long way to go before he'd listen to her. Don't worry Elaine, Pikachu's at least willing to keep traveling with you rather than outright refuse or try running away. Give it time and he'll come around to trusting you completely. Said Naruto while smiling at his adoptive sister as he put a hand on her shoulder in comfort while Leaf nodded in agreement. Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing and Pikachu will trust you soon enough. And besides, you still have the Dratini you got from Lance, so you can still battle and catch Pokemon. Leaf added, with Elaine smiling at them and nodding in thanks. Yeah, you're right. And thanks guys. Elaine replied with their words easing her spirits, knowing she can still use Dratini and just keep being patient with Pikachu before she looked up at her starter. Okay Pikachu, you don't have to battle if you don't want to. But can you at least stay close by so I don't lose track of you? Elaine asked, not wanting Pikachu to wander off and get lost. Only for the electric mouse Pokemon to let out a yawn and shrug before waving Elaine away, much to her annoyance. That's the best I'm going to get. Elaine muttered, with Naruto and Leaf putting their hands on her shoulders for a moment. "Don't worry, we'll make sure to memorize where Pikachu is and what tree he's in," said Leaf, with a whiskered blonde nodding in agreement before they began looking around and memorizing their surroundings, along with the tree Pikachu was in. "Okay, we should be able to find our way back here to get Pikachu. I say we split up to see what Pokémon we can find and then meet up again to start training," Naruto said, with both girls nodding in agreement before they went off in different directions to see what Pokémon they'll be able to find. Later. With Elaine. Walking through the forest, Elaine looked around for any Pokémon before smiling when she saw some Pidgey flying overhead, along with a few Rattatas running through the grass. There are just so many of them. Elaine thought, excited at seeing all the Pokémon around her, having trouble deciding on which one she wanted to catch first. But the brunette's attention soon turning to a Pokémon she saw behind a rock, with Elaine moving in to get a closer look at it. Is that a Pidgey? Elaine thought, seeing the Pokémon was a small bird one, thinking it was another Pidgey, before she got a closer look at it. It was an avian Pokémon that is very small. It has rough brown plumage on its head and 3 brown tail feathers. It has narrow, dark brown eyes with white pupils and a short hooked beak that is light pink. The feathers covering its wings are pinkish red with lighter tips, and it has a beige underside with 2 thin horizontal stripes. Its light pink feet have 2 toes in front and 1 in the back. Black feathers cover its back. "No, that's not a Pidgey, that's a Spearow." "Yeah, that's a Spearow," thought Elaine, seeing the Spearow walk along the ground before pulling out her Pokédex and scanning it. Spearow, the tiny bird Pokémon. Unlike Pidgey, Spearow has a terrible attitude. It is very wild and will sometimes attack other Pokémon and humans. Looking at the Spearow, Elaine smiled, knowing which Pokémon she wanted to catch first before she stepped out of her hiding spot and got the Spearow's attention. Spearow. Spearow flapped its wings to try and intimidate the human, only for Elaine to pull out Dratini's Pokeball. "Alright, let's go Dratini," said Elaine, releasing Dratini, with the dragon Pokémon appearing in front of Spearow. Dratini looks Spearow, ready to help her trainer defeat it. "Okay Dratini, use Leer," Elaine said, with Dratini glaring at Spearow with her eyes glowing blue, with Spearow shivering as its defense went down, before shaking it off and flared at Dratini using its own Leer. "Spear ow." Spearow then flew right towards Dratini to use its peck attack. "Dratini, dodge it quickly, then use Twister," said Elaine, with Dratini jumping out of the way of Spearow's peck. "Dratini." Dratini then waved her tail creating a tornado from it and sending it towards Spearow. Spearow looked at the approaching tornado before it began rapidly flapping its wings, creating its own tornado that was launched towards Dratini's. The 2 attacks crashing into each other, dispersing into powerful gusts of wind, with this giving Spearow an opening as it rushed Dratini, slamming into the dragon-type Pokémon. Dratini was sent crashing into the ground before Spearow used Leer on her again, further lowering Dratini's defenses. "Dratini, are you alright?" Elaine asked in worry, with Dratini soon getting back up again and nodding. Spearow flapped its wings again, releasing another tornado towards Dratini, with Elaine thinking of an idea of what to do. "Dratini used Twister again," Elaine said, with Dratini swinging her tail creating another tornado that crashed into Spearow's, resulting in the tiny bird Pokémon once again rushing towards Dratini to attack her. "Now use Leer," said Elaine. Dratini glared at Spearow with her eyes glowing blue, causing Spearow to suddenly stop and shiver at the glare with its defenses going down again. "Dratini, get in close and use Wrap," Elaine said, the dragon type rushing Spearow while it was frozen and quickly wrapped her body around the flying type, squeezing Spearow tightly. Spearow tried breaking free of Dratini's wrap, only for the dragon Pokémon to not relent. Leading Spearow to start using Peck against her, making Dratini wince at being hit by Spearow's beak repeatedly. "Okay, now use Thunder Wave Dratini," said Elaine, with Dratini's body sparking with blue electricity. Dratini then electrocuted Spearow, who cried out being electrocuted before feeling its body become paralyzed. "Way to go, Dratini. Now release Spearow and use Twister again," Elaine said, with Dratini doing so and putting some distance between her and Spearow before swinging her tail launching a Twister at Spearow. But the tiny bird Pokémon being unable to move due to the paralysis, leading to it being picked up by the Twister and sent crashing into a tree. Spearow. Spearow flinched as it hit the tree before falling to the ground, with Elaine pulling out a Pokeball. "Now's my chance. Go Pokeball," said Elaine, throwing the Pokeball at Spearow, bouncing off its head before opening up and sucking Spearow in. Elaine watched the Pokeball shake a few times, seeing if it would hold or if Spearow would escape. After a few more shakes, the Pokeball let out a ping sound, making the brunette grin in excitement. "Alright. I caught a Spearow," Elaine cheered, picking up the Pokeball of her newly caught Spearow. Dratini I smiled at her trainer, happy to have helped her catch a new Pokémon. You did great Dratini, thanks for your help. Now let's see what Spearow knows. Said Elaine pulling out her Pokédex to check Spearow's stats. Spearow. Gender. Female. Ability. Sniper. Mavacet. Peck, Leer, Pursuit, Gust. Egg moves. Feather Dance, Feint Attack, Steel Wing, Sky Attack. Elaine smiled at Spearow's stats and Mavacet, knowing she'll make a great addition to her team before letting Spearow out. Spearow. Spearow looked around before looking at her new trainer. Hey Spearow, I'm glad to have joined my team, I hope we'll be able to become great friends. Elaine said while smiling at the flying type, with Spearow tilting her head before approaching Elaine. Spearow. The tiny bird Pokémon gave a short nod, knowing she'll grow much stronger with Elaine. Great. Now let's see what other Pokémon we can find before meeting up with the others. Said Elaine, returning Dratini and Spearow to their Pokeballs, wanting to see what other Pokémon she could encounter before meeting up with Naruto and Leaf. With Leaf. Meanwhile, Leaf was walking through the forest looking around for any Pokémon, while also thinking of which type she wanted to catch first. We'll be heading through Diglett Tunnel to challenge the Vidian City gym first, and Lieutenant Surge uses electric types. And grass types are resistant to electric types, so Bulbasaur should be a good match against him with enough training. But I also shouldn't rely on just Bulbasaur, as even if he won't be using stronger Pokémon, he'll still be a tough opponent. Leaf thought, wanting to catch a Pokémon that'd help against Surge's own Pokémon. Outside of ground types in case he trained all his Pokémon to know moves that could counter ground type Pokémon. Though Leaf was pulled from her thoughts when she suddenly slipped on something. What the? Where did that come from? Leaf said, looking to see she slipped on a banana peel, with the brunette looking around to see where it came from. Mankey. Hearing the sudden sound, Leaf looked up only to see a Pokémon up in the trees above her. It was a simian Pokémon, being bipedal and had a round body covered in whitish, shaggy fur. Its nose is similar to a pig's snout, and it has narrow, red eyes and triangular ears with brown insides. It also has 3-fingered hands, 2 feet, and the tip of its curved prehensile tail are brown. A Mankey. Leaf said, surprised at seeing what's seen as the smallest fighting-type Pokémon, before she noticed it was also eating bananas. Boy. Were you the one who threw this? Said Leaf, getting Mankey's attention. Mankey. Mankey stuck its tongue out at Leaf before purposefully throwing another peel at her, much to her annoyance as she ducked to avoid getting hit before pulling out Bulbasaur's Pokeball. Oh, you are so asking for it. Come on out Bulbasaur. Said Leaf while sending Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur looked around to see who they would be battling before she looked up and spotted Mankey. Mankey jumped down across from Bulbasaur and got into a stance before charging the grass poison type. Dodge it and use tackle, Bulbasaur. Leaf said, with Bulbasaur jumping out of the way of Mankey's attack. Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur then charged right towards the fighting type, slamming right into Mankey. Mankey. Mankey glared at Bulbasaur before kicking its leg out, tripping Bulbasaur up and sending her skidding across the ground. Bulbasaur used growl quickly. Said Leaf as Bulbasaur got back up and narrowed her eyes as Mankey. Soar. Bulbasaur let out a loud cry that distorted the air, with Mankey flinching as its attack went down, before narrowing its eyes. Mankey. Mankey let out a loud cry as it grew stronger, much to Leaf and Bulbasaur's surprise. Before the pig monkey Pokémon rushed Bulbasaur and began swiping at her with its fists, the seed Pokémon grunting at each hit. Stay strong Bulbasaur and use Vine Whip to grab Mankey. Leaf said, with Bulbasaur gaining a moment of focus before 2 vines came out of the side of her bulb and wrapped around Mankey. Now use Growth, then throw Mankey into the air and use Tackle. Said Leaf. Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur was surrounded by a green glow as her attack and special attack went up before she threw Mankey into the air and slammed right into it. Mankey grunted as the attack sent it crashing into a tree, only for the fighting type to soon get up, looking much angrier. Mankey charged at Bulbasaur, kicking its leg out and causing the grass poison type to trip before it began swiping its fists at her again. Mankey gave a final swipe that sent Bulbasaur crashing into a tree. Bulbasaur. Said Leaf, looking at her starter in worry, but was relieved when Bulbasaur got back up. Bulbasaur looked at Mankey with narrowed eyes, refusing to give up or lose. Okay then, use Growth again Bulbasaur. Leaf said, with Bulbasaur being surrounded by a green glow as her strength grew even more. Now use Vine Whip on the tree branches above Mankey. Said Leaf, Bulbasaur nodding as her vines came out again and began hitting the tree branches above Mankey, causing them to break and fall towards it. Mankey jumped out of the way to avoid getting hit with the branches. Now grab Mankey, quickly Bulbasaur. Leaf said. Bulbasaur quickly sent her vines after Mankey and grabbed hold of it. Pull Mankey in close and finish it with Tackle. Leaf said, with the seed Pokemon reeling her vines and Mankey in close. Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur slammed into Mankey once the fighting type was close enough, sending Mankey crashing into a tree. Man Mankey. Mankey struggled to get back up, refusing to lose the fight. I don't think so. Go Pokeball. Said Leaf, throwing a Pokeball at Mankey upon seeing it was weakened enough, the ball bouncing off Mankey's head before opening up and sucking it inside. Watching the Pokeball for a few moments, Leaf soon smiled brightly when the Pokeball gave off a loud ping. Alright. We just caught a Mankey, Bulbasaur. Leaf said while grabbing the Pokeball in happiness. Soar. Bulbasaur jumped and smiled at her trainer, happy to have won the battle and helped catch a new Pokemon. Now let's see Mankey's stats. Said Leaf while pulling out her Pokédex. Mankey, the pig monkey Pokemon. Mankey is quick-tempered and can fly into a rage even while dreaming. Mankey. Gender. Female. Ability. Defiant. Moveset. Low kick, fury swipe, leer focus energy. Egg moves. Meditate, revenge, counter, night slash. Leaf smiled at seeing how strong Mankey is in her Moveset before letting Mankey out. Mankey. Mankey looked up at her new trainer while Leaf crouched down to look at her. Hey Mankey, welcome to the team. Said Leaf while smiling at Mankey, who looked at her with narrowed eyes. Mankey. Mankey jumped around Leaf before stopping in front of her, glad to know her trainer was at least strong enough to beat her, making Leaf smile at her. Glad to see you're happy to join us. Now let's keep moving to see what other Pokemon we'll run into. Said Leaf while standing up and returning her Pokemon before continuing on her way to see what other Pokemon there are. With Naruto. Naruto walked through the forest, looking around at all the Pokemon he could see, not sure which one he should catch first. The Uzumaki couldn't help but smile, knowing these were just a few of the Pokemon he'll see and encounter. Maybe a flying type, since it would be good to have a Pokemon that can fly around, or a bug type, since they're known to evolve quickly and can be really strong with the right training. Normal types are also good, since they can learn plenty of different moves and are immune to ghost-type moves. Thought Naruto, knowing he had plenty of different choices to make on what Pokemon to catch first. Neato. Naruto was pulled from his thinking at the sudden sound of a Pokemon's cry and the sound of something hitting a tree. Curious of what was making the sound, the whiskered blonde followed it, soon coming across a Pokemon kicking a tree. It was a small quadrupedal rodent-like Pokemon. It was pinkish-purple with darker patches. It has large spiny ears with teal insides, a horn on its forehead, oversized front teeth, and red eyes. Its back is covered with 3 lines of large spines. The center line of spines is taller than the other 2. Whoa, a male Nidoran. Naruto said at seeing the Nidoran, not thinking there'd be any en route 1, male or female ones, before he quickly pulled out his Pokédex and scanned him. Nidoran male, the poison pin Pokemon. Its large ears are flapped like wings when it is listening to distant sounds. It extends toxic barbs when angered. I definitely have to catch Nidoran. Naruto thought eagerly, looking at Nidoran and saw the reason it had been kicking the tree as several berries fell down from it, which the poison type soon began eating. Though the moment Naruto took a step, Nidoran's ears flapped before his head snapped towards him, the Pokemon narrowed his eyes before turning fully towards the Uzumaki. Nidoran. Nidoran jumped away from Naruto, watching him warily in case the human tried something, while Naruto pulled out Totodile's Pokeball. Let's go Totodile. Naruto said, throwing the Pokeball as Totodile came out in front of Nidoran. Totodile. Totodile jumped up before looking at Nidoran, who narrowed his eyes further before charging the water type. Neato. Nidoran charged Totodile before jumping into the air, aiming his horn at Totodile. Dodge it and use water gun Totodile. Said Naruto, with a big jaw Pokemon jumping out of the way of Nidoran's attack. Dial. Totodile then unleashed a spiral of water at the poison pin Pokemon, slamming into Nidoran and sending him crashing into a tree. With Nidoran getting back up and glaring at Totodile with glowing red eyes, causing Totodile to shiver as his defense went down. This giving Nidoran a chance to rush Totodile again before jumping and flipping in the air, slamming his foot into the water type, then kicking him with the other foot. The attack sending Totodile skidding across the ground before shaking off the hits. Use your own leer, Totodile. Then follow it with bite. Said Naruto, Totodile nodding before glaring at Nidoran, making him shiver as his own defense went down before Totodile then charged Nidoran and jumped at him. Totodile. Totodile bit down on Nidoran's back, making the Pokemon cry out at suddenly being bite before Nidoran began thrashing around to throw Totodile off. Just keep holding on, Totodile. Naruto said, while thinking of how to weaken Nidoran further to get a chance to catch him. Totodile bit down harder on Nidoran as he began ramming into trees to throw him off, something that gave Naruto an idea. I'm gonna have to time it just right. Thought Naruto watching as Nidoran continued slamming into trees to throw Totodile off, waiting until he charged towards another one. "Jump off now Totodile and use headbutt," said Naruto, with Totodile immediately releasing Nidoran, who was unable to stop his charge and slammed right into the tree. Totodile. Totodile landed on the ground before running towards Nidoran, slamming his head into the poison type and knocking it back into the tree. Though this gave Nidoran a chance to jab Totodile with his horn, pushing the big jaw Pokemon back, with Nidoran continuing to jab him with his horn. Nido ran. Nidoran gave a final jab that sent Totodile flying back into a tree himself. Nidoran charged Totodile again to slam his horn into him. "Totodile use Leer, then use water gun," said Naruto, with Totodile glaring at Nidoran, making it shiver as his defense went down again, before crying out as Totodile hit him with a spiraling blast of water. "Now use headbutt again," Naruto said, as Totodile stopped shooting water and charged Nidoran. Totodile slammed his head into Nidoran, sending him flying back and crashing into the ground. "Now's my chance," said Naruto, pulling out a Pokeball and throwing it towards Nidoran, with it bouncing off his head before it opened up and sucked the poison type inside. Watching the Pokeball shake a few times, Naruto soon grinned when it let out a ping and went still, showing he'd succeeded in catching Nidoran. "Alright. I caught a Nidoran," Naruto cheered as he grabbed the Pokeball. Totodile jumped around his trainer in happiness at having won the battle and helped catch a new Pokemon. "Now let's see what Nidoran's stats are," said Naruto, scanning the Pokeball to check Nidoran's stats. Nidoran male. Gender. Male. Ability. Hustle. Mavasat. Horn attack, Fury attack, double kick, Leer. Egg moves. Confusion, Disable, Poison Tail, Supersonic, Sucker Punch. Naruto smiled at seeing the moves Nidoran knew and will be able to unlock before he let Nidoran out. "Hey Nidoran, we're glad to have you joining our team, I can tell you're going to be a great addition and become really strong," Naruto said, with Nidoran looking at him while tilting his head before nodding. "Neato." Nidoran then looked to where his berries were before he went over and continued eating them, with Totodile joining the poison type. Looking at his Pokemon, Naruto looked up at the tree to see all the berries in it, along with a few other trees with different kinds of berries. It'd be a good idea to gather some of these, thought Naruto as he began picking as many berries as he could get, knowing they'll be good to have to feed his, Elaine, and Leaf's Pokemon. Later. After some time, the trio soon met up again by the tree Pikachu was laying in, each of them pleased at the Pokemon each of them caught. With Elaine checking the tree, glad to see Pikachu was still there before looking at Naruto and Leaf. "So I'm guessing you two caught a Pokemon as well," Naruto stated while seeing the looks on Elaine and Leaf's faces, with both girls nodding. "Yep, I caught a really strong one," replied Leaf while pulling out Bulbasaur's and Mankey's Pokeballs, with Elaine doing the same with Dratini's and Spearo's. "So did I, and I know she'll be a great addition to my team," Elaine added, pleased at having caught Spearow. "Then I guess we all got good Pokemon, how about we let them out and we can get started on training them all," said Naruto, pulling out his own Pokeballs, with Elaine and Leaf nodding at this before they all let their Pokemon out. Looking at what the other two caught, the three scanned each other's new Pokemon. "Mankey and Spearow, nice. I'm sure they'll be really strong once we start training," said Naruto, looking at the Pokemon they caught. "Yep. Now who's ready to start training?" Elaine said while smiling at their Pokemon, who all nodded eagerly, ready to start training to grow stronger. "Great. And don't think you'll be training alone. 'Cause we'll be right there with you," said Leaf, with Naruto and Elaine nodding in agreement at wanting to grow alongside their Pokemon, surprising them before they smiled at their trainers wanting to train with them. "Pikachu, are going to join us for training?" questioned Elaine while looking up at her starter, who only gave her a dry look again before laying back down, making the brunette sigh before joining the others. The group started off with some light exercises by running or flying in Spearo's case through the forest while carrying decent-sized rocks. Along with having their Pokemon launch a few attacks at random as a means to help them work on their evasiveness and awareness. After running several laps, they started stretching before doing push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and working on increasing the power of their respective team's attacks by having them target trees. As well as test different combinations of moves between their Pokemon for whenever they battles together or used more than one Pokemon at once during battles. "Okay, I think that's enough training for today. Now how about some practice battles?" Naruto suggested, making Elaine and Leaf nod in agreement before smirking at each other. "Definitely. And don't feel too bad when Mankey takes down your pretty little bird Elaine," said Leaf. "Sorry, that's not happening, Spearow wouldn't even need the type advantage to take you down," Elaine retorted, with both Spearow and Mankey also staring each other down by their trainers' sides. Unfortunately, before they could start their practice battles, the trio of trainers and their Pokemon jumped slightly when they heard thunder overhead, making them look up, surprised to see dark storm clouds now covered the sky. "Huh, that came out of nowhere," Leaf muttered in surprise, given how it was sunny not even an hour ago before they saw it started raining heavily. We need to get out of here, now. I saw a cave nearby that we can take shelter in until the storm passes. Naruto said over the wind and rain, much to the girls' relief as they returned their Pokémon to their Pokeballs. Great. Let's go, that includes you Pikachu, said Elaine while looking up to her starter, only for her eyes to widen in worry when she saw he wasn't in the tree anymore. Pikachu? Where are you? Elaine shouted in worry, not believing that she lost track of Pikachu when he'd been there a few moments ago. He must have wandered off while we were training, said Leaf, looking around for any sign of the electric mouse Pokémon, but didn't see him anywhere. He couldn't have gotten far if he left just before the storm started, Naruto said before they began running through the forest to try and find where Pikachu could have gone. But them soon hearing what sounded like Pokémon fighting, making them quickly run to where it was coming from. Going even faster when they saw a flash of lightning through the trees, showing Pikachu was part of the fight. The trio soon arriving, only to see Pikachu surrounded by a pack of 20 Pokémon, all of them being the same kind. They were quadrupedal Pokémon similar in appearance to canines. Its body is primarily gray with a black face and throat, paws, and belly. Its eyes are red with yellow sclerae, and it has a red nose. Its lower jaw has 2 pointed teeth sticking out. The fur at the base of its tail is rumpled and shaggy. It has gray paw pads on its 3-toed paws. Those are Pokémon. Leaf said in surprise, recognizing the Pokémon surrounding Pikachu. Pikachu looked around at the Pokémon before he attempted to use Thundershock, only to cry out when 2 of them tackled him from behind, followed by one biting the electric mouse Pokémon. Pikachu? Dratini, Spearow come out and help Pikachu, Elaine said, worried for her starter, before releasing Dratini and Spearow. You two Bulbasaur and Mankey, said Leaf while releasing her own Pokémon. Totodile, Dino, Nidoran, you all come out too, Naruto said while letting out his own as well. But this getting the attention of the Pokémon pack as well as Pikachu, who was surprised to see the 3 show up. Dratini, Spearow used Twister and Gust together, said Elaine, with her Pokémon nodding before Dratini swung her tail while Spearow flapped her wings, creating 2 tornadoes that combined together and launched towards the Pokémon, blowing some of them away. Though the remaining Pokémon managed to dodge the tornado, with many of them letting out loud howls that boosted their attack power before charging the trio's Pokémon. Dino use Focus Energy, then use Dragon Breath. Totodile use Water Gun. Nidoran use Double Kick, said Naruto. They know. Dino was surrounded by a dark blue aura, sharpening his senses and focus before unleashing a stream of pale purple fire at the Pokémon. Totodile launched a spiral blast of water at the bite Pokémon as well. Nidoran. Nidoran charged towards the Pokémon before leaping into the air. Bulbasaur use Vine Whip. Mankey use Fury Swipe, Leaf said, with Bulbasaur's vines coming out and rushing towards the Pokémon, while Mankey charged them with her fists ready. Several of the Pokémon dodged out of the way of the attacks, with the rest being knocked back by Dino's Dragon Breath and Totodile's Water Gun, with Nidoran kicking one of them in the head before kicking it again. Followed by Mankey swiping her fists at several Pokémon that got in her way, while Bulbasaur smacked aside the remaining ones with her vines. All the Pokémon that were able to dodge got in close before they began kicking dirt and sand at the Pokémon, making them flinch and shake their heads when sand got in their eyes. Spearow used Gust to blow away the dust, Dratini used Thunder Wave to try and paralyze the Pokémon, said Elaine, with her Pokémon moving to follow her commands. Only for them to be stopped when one of the Pokémon charged at Dratini with its mouth and fangs coated in ice-based energy before biting down on the dragon Pokémon. While another Pokémon leapt into the air, with its fangs glowing yellow with sparks of electricity before biting down on Spearow. Dratini flinched at the pain and cold from the first Pokémon's ice fang. Spearow's body spasmed as she was electrocuted by the second Pokémon's thunder fang. Spearow, Elaine yelled in worry. Nidoran use Fury Attack on the Pokémon biting Spearow, said Naruto quickly, with Nidoran running and jumping into the air towards Pokémon. And you use Low Kick on the Pokémon biting Dratini, Mankey. Then use Fury Swipe. While you use Growth on them, Bulbasaur, Leaf said, Mankey charging at Pokémon while Bulbasaur was surrounded by a green aura. Bulbasaur then fired green beams of energy at Nidoran and Mankey, boosting their attack and special attack power. Nidoran jabbed Pokémon with his horn, forcing it to release Spearow, before continuing to jab at the Dark-type Pokémon. Mankey kicked Pokémon's legs out from under it before proceeding to swipe her fists at it repeatedly. Thanks guys. Now Dratini used Thunder Wave and Spearow used Peck, said Elaine, with her Pokémon managing to recover from the attacks and nodded. Spearow dived down towards a Pokémon and began pecking at it furiously. Dratini releasing a wave of blue electricity at several Pichina, shocking and paralyzing them. Though some of the Pichina managed to get behind the group before charging at Totodile, Dino, and Bulbasaur. Tackling the three Pokémon before the one who tackled Totodile bit him using Thunder Fang, the one who tackled Bulbasaur had its mouth covered in flames before biting her. While the one who tackled Dino had its mouth glow purple before biting down on him. The three Pokémon crying out at the attacks, with Bulbasaur being electrocuted, Bulbasaur being burned, and Dino being poisoned. Nidoran quickly used double kick on the Pichina biting Totodile and Dino. Said Naruto, Nidoran nodding before charging the two Pichina. Mankey used focus energy and then used low kick on the Pichina biting Bulbasaur. Leaf said, with Mankey giving a shout as she was surrounded by red energy, sharpening her sense and focus before rushing the bite Pokémon. Nido ran. Nidoran jumped up before kicking away the Pichina biting Dino, followed by kicking the Pichina biting Totodile. Mankey narrowed her eyes before kicking Pichina in its weak spot, landing a critical hit on the dark type. The trio looked around, seeing that while they've managed to take out some of the Pichina, they got back up soon after, and they could see their Pokémon were starting to get tired. Though Elaine's eyes widened when she saw several Pichina turn their attention back to Pikachu before charging him. Pikachu? Elaine said, running towards her starter and shielding him, crying out in pain as the Pichina jumped and tackled her bit her, much to everyone's shock and horror. Pikachu looked up at Elaine in shock that she'd let herself get hit to protect him, even after his refusal to listen to her. "Hey, are you alright, Pikachu?" Elaine asked, flinching and biting back a scream when the Pichina kept attacking her, trying to get at Pikachu. Pikachu looked at her with wide eyes before the electric mouse Pokémon narrowed his eyes and jumped away from Elaine, glaring at the Pichina before he was surrounded by electricity. Pikachu released a powerful thunder shock, made even stronger thanks to the storm, shooting multiple bolts of lightning at all the Pichina, electrocuting them all. The Pichina cried out in pain as they were electrocuted before they soon retreated once Pikachu couldn't keep the attack up. "Hi Pikachu," said Elaine, looking at her starter in disbelief. Pikachu managed to smile at Elaine before his remaining strength left him, causing him to pass out. "Pikachu," Elaine said, getting up to check on him, only to wince fall down from her injuries. "Elaine," said Naruto and Leaf, returning their Pokémon before running up to Elaine and Pikachu. "We need get you both to the cave, quickly," Leaf said as she picked Pikachu, while Naruto picked up Elaine. Right. Dratini, Spearow, come back," said Elaine, managing to return her Pokémon to their Pokeballs before Naruto and Leaf took off towards the cave. Thankfully, they managed to arrive at the cave, setting down Elaine and Pikachu down. "That was really reckless, Elaine, jumping in front of them like that," said Leaf as she and Naruto pulled out some potions and other medical supplies. "Maybe, but I wasn't going to let them hurt Pikachu any more than they already did," Elaine stated while looking at her unconscious Pokémon, not caring if she got hurt. "Well, it looked like you managed to get Pikachu's trust in doing that. So I guess something good happened from it," Naruto said, trying to look at the positives, with Elaine and Leaf nodding in agreement as they tended to Elaine and Pikachu's injuries. Luckily, they weren't too bad and only banged up, while being okay for the most part, before they then began tending to their Pokémon as well. Who were tired from the previous battling and training, not helped by then having to battle the Pichina. Once that was all done, the trio laid down to go to sleep and wait until the storm ends. The next morning, Naruto, Elaine, and Leaf all woke up, with Elaine feeling much better before her attention immediately turned to Pikachu, who was also waking up. "Pikachu? Are you alright?" Elaine asked while looking at her starter, who got up and smiled at her. "Ah." Pikachu ran over to his trainer and into her arms, making the trio smile at seeing him finally open up. "I'm glad you're alright too," said Elaine while petting Pikachu, who nuzzled into her hand. "And it looks like the storm's cleared up too," Leaf stated, looking out the cave and seeing the sky was clear again, along with a rainbow now being seen in the sky. "Wow, wait, what's that?" said Naruto while looking up at the rainbow, only to spot something flying through the sky near it. "Is that a Pokémon?" Elaine asked, squinting her eyes to try and get a better look at it. "Not like any Pokémon I've ever seen, and it looks huge," Leaf said, seeing that the Pokémon must be really big for them to see that high up in the sky. With their attention then turning to seeing something sparkling fall off the Pokémon and descend down towards them. With it getting closer and showing it was 3 rainbow-colored feathers, the trio grabbing one each while looking at them in amazement. Having never seen feathers like them before. "Well, at least we'll have something to always remember the start of our journey," stated Leaf while smiling at her feather, with Naruto and Elaine nodding in agreement before blushing in embarrassment when their stomachs rumbled. "Let's see about making breakfast and getting some light training in before continuing on our way," Naruto said, with the girls nodding in response before they began setting things up to make breakfast. Later. After the trio and their Pokemon had breakfast and got some light training, they continued on their way, with Naruto and Leaf, seeing that Pikachu was opening up more to Elaine. Seeing how he seemed less dismissive of her, along with now happily riding on her shoulder rather than being carried. "Look like Pikachu's happier to be around you," Leaf stated with a smile, as Elaine nodded and smiled in agreement while petting her starter. "Yeah, he is. And I'm glad that we can really start working together, Pikachu," said Elaine, happy that Pikachu was starting to trust her. "Ah." Pikachu nuzzled his trainer's hand, seeing she really did want to be friends and work together, rather than just order him around. "Then that means you can join us next time we train again, Pikachu," Naruto said while smiling at the electric mouse Pokemon, glad he's opening up to his adoptive sister. The trio's attention then turned to the road, stopping when they saw someone ahead of them, pushing a bike. Seeing it was a girl their age with short orange hair tied into a side ponytail with a blue elastic rubber band. She has green eyes and fair skin. She wears a yellow tank top that reveals her midriff, red suspenders, denim shorts that stop at her thighs and red sneakers with yellow lining and white laces. "Hey Pikachu, think you're up for our first battle together as partners?" Elaine asked while smiling at her starter. "Pika pika." Pikachu nodded, ready to battle alongside Elaine this time, rather than doing it alone, with the brunette smiling before running up to the orange-haired girl. "Hi there," Elaine said, smiling at the girl, only to flinch when she glared at her. "What do you want?" demanded the girl, making Elaine flinch at her tone, while Naruto and Leaf frowned at her snapping at Elaine. "Hey, relax, she was just saying hi," Leaf said in her friend's defense. "Yeah, you don't have to snap at her," added Naruto, not liking it when anyone messes with his sister, while the girl let out a sigh while taking a few breaths. "Right, sorry. I didn't mean to snap, I'm just not in a good mood after I got caught in that storm last night while I was fishing. With it then taking forever to find shelter from it," said the girl, annoyed at getting caught in the storm while fishing, making the trio wince at the cruel irony. "Oh, sorry to hear that. But, if you want we could have a Pokemon battle. That could help you relax," Elaine said with a smile, with the girl thinking about it for a few moments before nodding. "Yeah, that does sound fun and could help me blow off some steam. Plus, I was at least able to catch a Poliwag and wanted to see what it could do," replied the girl, seeing a battle could help her relax, with Elaine smiling happily. "Great. By the way, I'm Elaine Ketchum from Pallet Town, and this is my partner Pikachu," Elaine introduced while holding out her hand to the girl, who shook it. "Pikachu?" Pikachu waved at the orange-haired girl. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki, Elaine's adopted brother," introduced Naruto. "And I'm Leaf Green, their friend," Leaf introduced, with the two also shaking the girl's hand. "Nice to meet you three, I'm Misty from Cerulean City," Misty said with a small smile, before they moved off of the road. "Okay, let's go Pikachu," Elaine said with Pikachu jumping off her shoulder, ready to battle while Misty pulled out a Pokeball. "You're up Poliwag," said Misty, throwing the ball as her Poliwag came out. Poliwag is a Pokemon resembling a blue, spherical tadpole. It has large eyes and pink lips that can also act as suction cups for rocks. Its skin is very thin, but flexible and difficult to puncture. There is a black and white swirl on its abdomen, which is actually its internal organs showing through its semi-transparent skin. Poliwag. Poliwag looked at Pikachu, narrowing its eyes in determination upon seeing they were battling. "Poliwag huh," Naruto said as he, Elaine, and Leaf scanned Poliwag, with Misty giving them her blessing to check its stats, since she didn't have a Pokédex to check them with. Poliwag, the tadpole Pokemon. It has no arms, but its tail makes it a strong swimmer. Poliwag. Gender. Female. Ability. Swift swim. Moveset. Water gun, double slap, bubble, body slam. Egg moves. Mind reader, mud shot, mist. "Okay, let's start off with bubble, Poliwag," Misty said. "Holy wag." Poliwag unleashed several clear bubbles towards Pikachu. "Dodge it and use agility, Pikachu," said Elaine, with Pikachu jumping out of the way before quickly running around Poliwag, soon vanishing in bursts of speed, confusing the tadpole Pokemon. "Now use quick attack and combine it with tackle," Elaine said, leading Pikachu to reappear before charging towards Poliwag at high speed. "Poliwag, use water gun to launch yourself into the air," said Misty, with Poliwag shooting a spiral blast of water at the ground, launching it into the air and avoiding Pikachu's attack. "Now use body slam, followed by double slap," Misty said, the water type then descending straight down towards Pikachu, slamming into him with her whole body. "Poly poly poly Poliwag." Poliwag then followed it by slapping Pikachu 4 times with her tail. "Use growl Pikachu, then use thunder shock," Elaine said, with Pikachu managing to duck under Poliwag's tail when it nearly hit him again. "Pika." Pikachu let out a loud piercing cry that made Poliwag flinch and lower her attack. before Pikachu released a bolt of lightning, impacting Poliwag and electrocuting her. Poliwag get away and use body slam again. Misty said, with Poliwag managing to jump out of the lightning before jumping into the air to slam into Pikachu. Pikachu use agility again to dodge it, said Elaine, leading Pikachu to vanish in bursts of speed again, avoiding the body slam. Spin around while using bubble Poliwag, said Misty, knowing that'll keep Pikachu away and if they're lucky, also hit him. Poliwag began spinning around while shooting bubbles around her, with Elaine seeing that the move was similar to what Gary and Squirtle did. Jump into the air and use Thunder Shock, Pikachu, Elaine said, with Pikachu reappeared and jumped high into the air. Pikachu released another bolt of lightning towards Poliwag. Dodge it quickly Poliwag, Misty said, with Poliwag jumping out of the way of the Thunder Shock. Unfortunately, the lightning continued on its way after missing Poliwag, with it instead slamming right into Misty's bike. No. My bike. Misty said in anger when she saw her bike was completely fried and ruined. Oops, Elaine said sheepishly and nervously. Pikachu scratched his head in embarrassment, not meaning to hit Misty's bike like that. But the two paling when Misty rounded on them, with fire in her eyes. Misty said lowly while marching up to the two, making Elaine and Pikachu hug each other in fear as they cowered at what she was going to do to them. Before mentally sighing in relief when Misty took a deep breath and looked at them blankly. "You're gonna pay me back for that," stated Misty in a blank tone, knowing it wouldn't do for her to get angry over what was just an accident. "Yeah, sure we'll pay you back," Elaine said quickly while nodding her head. Sorry that happened Misty," said Naruto as he and Leaf walked over to them, knowing the battle was over. It's fine, I guess I should have put it farther away so that wouldn't happen," Misty replied while sighing and returning Poliwag. "Well if you want, you could travel with us since we're all on our own Pokemon journey. And it could be fun traveling with others rather than alone, then you could also eventually finish your battle with Elaine one day, since it was interrupted," said Naruto while smiling at the orange tea, not minding if she joined them. "Yeah, and make sure Elaine really pays you back rather than trying to escape," Leaf added while smirking at Elaine. "I would never do that," retorted Elaine while looking at Leaf in annoyance since she wouldn't try getting out of repaying someone. With her only being more annoyed, knowing that's what Leaf would do. Given the time she scammed people when they were younger and even now. "Well I guess it would be better than traveling alone," Misty said while letting out a sigh of resignation, figuring she should make lemonade out of her situation. "Great, glad to have you joining us," replied Naruto, happy to see Misty would join them. With the group returning to the route before making their way towards Vidian City. Mankey used Fury Swipe followed by Low Kick. Leaf said to Mankey, who charged towards the Pokemon she and Leaf were currently battling. The group had made their down Route 1 towards Vidian City, taking a break along the way to rest and get some light training in with their Pokemon before continuing on their way. But before they could reach Viridian, they stopped when they spotted a Pokemon near the road. With it being a bipedal mammalian Pokemon. It had a brick-patterned yellow hide that looked dry, tough, and would blend in perfectly with desert sand, along with a soft wide underbelly and muzzle. It has blue almond-shaped eyes, a pointed snout, and triangular ears with wide insides. Its tail is thick and conical. It also had 2 long claws on each foot and 3 sharp claws. The 4 trainers recognizing the Pokemon as a Sandshrew, with Naruto, Elaine, and Leaf all being eager for the chance to catch it. Though Naruto and Elaine decided to let Leaf get a chance to catch the Sandshrew, given they both already had 3 Pokemon, while Leaf only had 2. Something the brunette was thankful for as she'd sent out Mankey and battled Sandshrew. Mankey. Mankey swiped at Sandshrew repeatedly with her fists, knocking it further back with each hit before ending it with a kick to the ground type's legs, sending it crashing back. Sandshrew got up slowly, refusing to give up the battle. "Okay, let's finish it with another Fury Swipe, Mankey," said Leaf, with the pig monkey Pokemon rushing to attack Sandshrew again. Only for Sandshrew to manage to curl up into a ball, shielding itself from Mankey's Fury Swipe. Sandshrew then, without uncurling itself, suddenly jumped into the air and moved onto its side before it began spinning at high speeds, sending Sandshrew slamming right into Mankey. Mankey grunted in pain as Sandshrew's spinning body grinded into her while doing her best to stand her ground. "Mankey, quick. Move out of the way and use Low Kick to send Sandshrew crashing into a tree," said Leaf after getting an idea. Mankey nodded before managing to jump away from Sandshrew before kicking its curled up body right into a tree. Sandshrew slammed into the tree, its body uncurling from the impact as it tried getting up once again. "Not so fast. Go Pokeball," said Leaf, throwing a Pokeball at Sandshrew, with it bouncing off its head before opening up and sucking Sandshrew inside. Watching and waiting to see if the capture will hold, the group saw as the Pokeball shook a few times until it finally gave a ping sound, making Leaf grin happily. Alright. Way to go Mankey, we caught a Sandshrew. Leaf cheered while picking up the Pokeball containing her newest Pokémon. Mankey. Mankey Eye smiled and danced around her trainer, pleased at the successful battle and capture of a new teammate. Awesome. Way to go Leaf. Elaine said, smiling at her friend as they approached the brunette. You did a really great job battling that Sandshrew, especially since you just caught Mankey as well. Added Misty while smiling at Leaf, impressed that she and Mankey could already battle so well together. Yeah, you two were definitely great out there. And I'm sure you'll get even better with all of your Pokémon. Said Naruto, with Leaf smiling at the three and nodding in thanks. Thanks guy, and yep, me and my Pokémon are gonna be the best there is. And Sandshrew's gonna be a big help when we get to Vermilion City. Leaf replied, pleased at having gotten a ground type she'll be able to train up for when they reach Vermilion City and challenge Lieutenant Surge, before she smiled slyly and hugged Naruto's arm against her chest. And if you want Naruto, I'd be more than happy to exchange training tips with you in private. You wouldn't mind being alone with me, would you Naruto said Leaf while leaning closely to the whiskered blonde, making him blush in embarrassment while Elaine looked at her in annoyance, with Misty and Pikachu looking at the scene in amusement. This is turning out better than I thought. Misty thought in amusement, having learned quickly that it seemed both Leaf and Elaine had crushes on Naruto, who seemed oblivious to them and their rivalry. The Orange Tea starting to enjoy the chance to travel with them if she could see more of this. Pikachu also found the sight amusing, already this will likely become a common occurrence on the journey. Hey Leaf, why don't you scan Sandshrew to see its stats? Wouldn't want you to make any mistakes when using it in a battle by not knowing what it can do. Said Elaine while grabbing her adopted brother's other arm and pulling him away from Leaf, looking at the other brunette with narrowed eyes, who merely smirked at her. Ah, thanks for the reminder Elaine, I'm so glad to have a friend like you. And don't worry Naruto, I'm sure we'll have plenty of moments where we can be alone. Leaf said while winking at Naruto, to his further embarrassment and Elaine's annoyance, before pulling out her Pokédex and scanning Sandshrews Pokeball. Sandshrew, the mouse Pokémon. Sandshrew hates moisture and lives in holes it digs in dry places. It protects itself by curling into a ball. Sandshrew. Gender. Male. Ability. Sand Veil. Moveset. Scratch, Defense Curl, Fury Cutter, Rapid Spin. Egg moves. Mud Slap, Night Slash. Pretty good moves, he'll definitely be a great addition against Surge. Said Leaf, smiling at the moves Sandshrew knew and can learn, before returning Mankey to her Pokeball as the group continued on their way toward Viridian City. Luckily, it wasn't long before they arrived at Viridian City, with Naruto, Elaine, and Leaf looking around in amazement at seeing the city. Though suddenly, they were forced to stop when an officer Jenny stepped out in front of them, making the group stop in their tracks. Hold it. And just where do you think you all are going with that Pikachu? Jenny demanded while looking at them suspiciously with how Pikachu wasn't in a Pokeball. This is my Pikachu, but he doesn't like being in his Pokeball, so I just let him ride on my shoulder. Replied Elaine while showing her Pikachu's Pokeball. Pikachu nodded in agreement with his trainer, not liking being stuck inside a Pokeball all day. Oh sorry for then, though could I see some ID first, just so I can make you all are who you say you are? Questioned Jenny, relaxing a little at seeing Pikachu did belong to Elaine, but still needing to see some ID. But the group nodding, while Naruto, Elaine, and Leaf pulled out their Pokédexes, having learned they also served as their trainer IDs, with Misty pulling out a trainer ID card. With Jenny nodding as she looked at their IDs and saw they matched each of them. Alright, everything looks to be in order, thank you for your cooperation and sorry for the inconvenience. It's just that things have been on edge at the moment, especially how not long ago, the Pokémon Center was attacked by members of Team Rocket who tried stealing all the Pokémon. Thankfully, the center has backup power that's powered by a lot of Pikachu, with some of them breaking off from the group and incapacitating them with their electric attacks long enough for me to arrive and take them in. So, I have to check out any suspicious characters or newcomers, just to be safe. Jenny explained, surprising the group that something like that happened, but also understood the need to be safe, keep the city safe from any suspicious individuals. Elaine and Leaf looked at Naruto in concern, seeing he was now frowning at the mention of Team Rocket. The whiskered blonde feeling annoyed and bitter at the mention of the criminal organization and that they'd been here. If only all members of that crooked team were so easy to capture. Naruto muttered bitterly, making Misty look at him in surprise and worry at his expression and tone, given how he usually looked laid back and happy. Is Naruto alright? Misty asked quietly to Elaine and Leaf. Sorry, it's not really our place to say. Elaine said, with Leaf nodding in agreement. Yeah, it's kind of a personal matter for Naruto. Said Leaf, knowing it wasn't their place to tell Misty, while they looked at Naruto in worry. Given the fact that Team Rocket was the reason Naruto's parents were dead, with them having gone after some research material that his father had been working on. But when he refused to hand it over, a fight broke out between Team Rocket and Naruto's parents that resulted in their deaths. And while they knew Naruto's long since accepted what's happened and moved on, not wanting to become obsessed with getting revenge for his parents or anything like that, any mention of Team Rocket still put him in a foul mood, especially since he didn't like how the organization stole and used Pokemon. This made Misty look at the Uzumaki curiously, wanting to know what happened, but chose to stay silent since she didn't want to pry into their past when she just met them. But Naruto soon noticing the looks the girls were giving him, making him smile at them reassuringly. "Are you alright, Naruto?" Elaine asked, looking at her adopted brother in worry, with the Uzumaki nodding in response. "Yeah, I'm fine. I figured that we'd eventually hear something involving Team Rocket on our journey, given how they're most active in the Kanto region and Johto region, I just didn't expect it to be this soon. But I'm fine, since it's better knowing that at least a few other members are locked up where they can't hurt anyone or steal more Pokemon," replied Naruto, glad to know that at least a few members of Team Rocket were taken down and imprisoned. "If you're sure," said Leaf while trailing off, getting another nod from Naruto. "I am, and thank you both. But really I'm fine now," Naruto said to assure them that he's alright, with Elaine and Leaf soon nodding upon seeing he's telling the truth before they continued on their way to the Pokemon Center. With Jenny also providing them directions on how to get there, much to their gratitude, as they headed for the center and soon arrived there. Where Leaf and Misty headed for the counter to get their Pokemon looked over, while Naruto and Elaine went over to the video phones to call home. The two not having to wait long before they saw their mother appear on the screen. "Elaine, Naruto. Oh, I'm so happy to see you both. Where are you both right now?" Delia asked, smiling happily at seeing her children calling already. "Hey mom, we're in Vidian City right now, we actually just arrived," replied Elaine, Naruto nodding in agreement. "Yeah, we spent a few days on Route 1, even managing to catch some new Pokemon," Naruto added, making Delia's smile widen. "That's really great, honey. And it looks like you and Pikachu are a lot closer too," said Delia, seeing Pikachu riding on Elaine's shoulder, making the girl smile and nod. "Yeah, we are. It happened last night when we got caught in a storm," Elaine said, only for their mother to cut her off. "What? A storm? Are you both alright? What about Leaf? Are any of you sick? Did you get hurt?" Delia asked in worry and concern that something happened. "Relax mom, we're all fine, none of us are sick. We just had to look for Pikachu when we got separated and found him being attacked by a pack of Pichina. But we managed to fight them off before finding shelter in a cave," replied Naruto, while leaving out the part where Elaine used her body as a shield to protect Pikachu, knowing that it'd definitely make their mother freak out and possibly even come to drag them back home. "Naruto's right, we're perfectly fine. We're in the Pokemon Center in Vidian City right now, so nothing to worry about," Elaine added, also knowing to keep quiet about her getting hurt, with Delia's smile returning at hearing where they were. "Then you're both doing amazing, already catching your first Pokemon together and reaching Vidian City. Oh, I couldn't be more proud of you too," Delia said, happy to see how far her children have already come on their journey, with Naruto and Elaine smiling in thanks. "Thanks mom, but we should get going, love you, bye," said Elaine while waving at her mother. "Bye mom, love you too, and we'll make sure to call again when we get a chance," Naruto added while waving as well. "Alright, I love you both as well, and make sure to stay safe out there. Bye," replied Delia, waving at the two before they ended the call, with Leaf walking up to them. "Was that Delia?" Leaf asked while referring to her by name, since their mother insisted on her calling her by her name, rather than Ms. Ketchum. "Yeah, we just wanted to check in and let her know we were okay," Elaine replied, the brunette nodding at this. "And did you tell her about you turning yourself into a human shield?" questioned Leaf, only be met with deadpan expression from the siblings, making her nod again, figuring they wouldn't say anything. Though the trio's attention then turned back to the video phone when it started ringing again, with Naruto answering it to see Professor Oak there. "Hello, Naruto, Elaine, Leaf, good to see I was able to catch you three. I had talked with your mother and she told me you three were in Vidian City," Oak said, pleased to see they made it there safely. "That's right, Professor. And we've already caught some new Pokemon and I've gotten 2 new ones," Leaf replied with a grin, while Oak's eyes widened before he grinned. "Really? If that's true, then you also have a new Pokemon, right Elaine? If so, then that's wonderful to hear since Gary had his doubts that you wouldn't be able to catch a single new Pokemon before reaching Vidian City, so I bet him a million Pokédollars that he was wrong. And it looks like I just won the bet," said Oak, happily at having won the bet with his grandson, with Elaine's eye twitching slightly at hearing they bet on whether or not she'd catch a new Pokemon, before remembering the Pokemon they saw in the sky. Actually, Professor Oak, we also saw a really strange looking Pokemon in the sky this morning after last night's storm. Elaine said, which got Oak's attention, while Naruto and Leaf nodded in agreement, remembering the Pokemon. Yeah, it was really huge when it flew over a rainbow, with its feathers even sparkling like a rainbow as well. Added Naruto, which really got the professor's attention. I recognize the Pokemon you're describing, but it's impossible that you could have seen it. Trainers have spent their entire lives searching for that Pokemon and have never once seen it. Said Oak, skeptical they could have seen that of all Pokemon. Well, we saw some Pokemon, with it even dropping these as it flew by. Stated Leaf while pulling out the feather she got, with Naruto and Elaine doing the same, much to Oak's shock at seeing the feathers. My word, you three really did see Ho-Oh? Oak said in shock, disbelief and amazement that they actually saw Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh? Is that what the Pokemon is called? Questioned Naruto, with Oak snapping out of his shock and nodding. That's right. Ho-Oh is a legendary Pokemon that's known mostly in the neighboring Johto region, but is known throughout Kanto as well. Many trainers have spent their entire lives searching for Ho-Oh, but none have ever succeeded in even catching a glimpse of it. The fact that you three saw it is nothing short of outstanding, even more so that it even gave each of you a rainbow wing. Said Oak, much to their amazement that they saw a legendary Pokemon. What's so special about these rainbow wings? Leaf asked, wondering what made the rainbow wings so special. They're part of a legend revolving around Ho-Oh, with it being that Ho-Oh will only grant a rainbow wing to one that it chooses to become the rainbow hero, one who would have the potential to challenge and battle Ho-Oh after summoning it at Mount Tensei. That you three each received one means Ho-Oh believes each of you has the potential to be the rainbow hero and challenge it. This is truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Well, it's entirely your choice. I do urge you three to travel to Mount Tensei to see if the legend is true. Oak explained, shocking and amazing the three further that they could actually get the chance to summon and battle Ho-Oh. Whoa. Well, if we get the chance, we'll travel to Mount Tensei to see if the legend is true. Said Elaine, knowing they couldn't pass up such a chance. Yeah, we will. There's no way I'd miss a chance to battle a legendary Pokemon. Leaf said in excitement, wanting to get the chance to see a legendary Pokemon up close, something she definitely didn't expect to happen on her journey. Yeah, we will if we ever get the chance. But for now, our main concern is the Pokemon League. Said Naruto, with the girls nodding in agreement. While they'd like the chance to encounter and battle Ho-Oh, they also wanted to focus on reaching the Pokemon League at the moment, with Oak nodding in understanding. Of course, as I said, the choice is entirely yours to go or not. But the fact you've only just started your journeys and have already seen Ho-Oh, I can tell you three are certainly going to have many amazing adventures. Oak stated, believing that their journey will be anything but ordinary, something the trio had to agree with. After ending the call, Naruto and Elaine gave their Pokemon to Nurse Joy to be looked over as well, before the four trainers exited the Pokemon Center to explore the city and get some shopping done. So, you three are taking on the Pokemon League. And you're going to challenge Lieutenant Surge first? Questioned Misty, looking at the three with a raised brow. Yeah, since we've heard that Surge is one of the stronger and more brutal gym leaders. We figured it'd be better if we challenged him first, so he wouldn't be using any really powerful Pokemon. Elaine replied, making the orange tea nod in understanding, also knowing how strong Surge is and that he doesn't pull any punches in battle. That's pretty smart, but even if Lieutenant Surge is going to be limited to a weaker team, he still isn't someone that you should underestimate. Though if you are challenging gym leaders, you should know that there's actually a gym here in Vidian City. Said Misty, surprising the trio since they didn't hear about a gym in Vidian. There's a gym here in Vidian City. Asked Leaf since they didn't hear anything about a gym being here. Yeah, it's not surprising you haven't heard of it, since the gym leader is really strict on who gets to challenge them, requiring all challengers to have 7 gym badges before letting them in. The only other gym that does that has a badge requirement in Kanto is the Sanabur Island Gym. Given how in recent years the island has become more of a tourist location, which in turn lead to subpar trainers trying to challenge the gym, this lead to the gym leader requiring challengers to have at least 6 badges to prove they're strong challengers. Misty explained, surprising them once again that some gyms would have requirements like that. Wow, those gym leaders must be really strong and have some very high standards if they expect challengers to have that many badges beforehand. And you seem to really know a lot about the different gyms, Misty. Are you taking on the Pokemon League too? Naruto asked while looking at the orange tea, who shook her head. No, I've just traveled a lot and learned about the different gyms in Kanto, since it never hurts to know stuff, even if it's not useful to me personally. Replied Misty, while mentally sighing in relief at having a good cover story to hide the fact she used to be a gym leader herself. That makes sense and is really smart. But if you're not going to challenge the Pokemon League, then what are you doing on your journey? Questioned Elaine, curious to know more about Misty's own journey and goal. I'm on a journey to become a water-type Pokemon master. I want to see and catch as many water-type Pokémon as I can while learning everything I can about them. Misty answered, wanting to prove herself as more than just a little sister of the sensational sisters. Huh, that's pretty cool specializing in a single Pokémon, said Leaf while smiling at Misty's goal, Naruto and Elaine nodding in agreement. Yeah, since anyone can catch different kinds of Pokémon, but it takes a lot of determination to focus on a single type. Elaine added, given how most trainers tended to get Pokémon of different types to have more rounded teams. But that just makes all the more fun, being able to learn even more about the kind of Pokémon you specialize in, along with really pushing yourself and your Pokémon to become stronger and overcome the weaknesses they have. And I'm sure you'll meet plenty of great water-type Pokémon, Misty, stated Naruto while smiling at the orange tea, which she returned as she smiled at the trio. Thanks, and yeah, I'm hoping to see all the water-type Pokémon in the world, said Misty before she looked at Elaine with a deadpan expression. Don't think that'll get you out of paying for my bike, Misty stated, making Elaine blush in embarrassment and shake her head. Oh, of course not, Elaine replied, not trying to get out of her promise to pay for her bike. By the way Naruto, you know me and Elaine the best. What Pokémon type do you think suits us best? Leaf asked with a smile and grabbing Naruto's arm, wanting to know what he thought of her, with Elaine looking at her with narrowed while grabbing Naruto's other arm. You'd be rock type since you have such a hard head, Leaf, said Elaine, with the brunette smirking at her and narrowing her eyes. Then I guess that'd make you fire type Elaine. Since you never were the most cool-headed, replied Leaf as both girls looked at each with narrowed eyes. I don't think any one type would suit you both. Since both of you are really strong, kind, determined, protective, loyal, and never give up whenever you set your minds to something. Not to mention you're both the greatest friend and sister anyone could ask for. So, I think each of you would be perfect for several different types, Naruto said while smiling at both girls, with Elaine and Leaf blushing slightly at what he thought of them. Well, you're the same Naruto, a really great and loyal friend who looks out for those you care about, Leaf said while smiling at the whiskered blonde. Why yeah, you're all of that and more, and I couldn't ask for a better brother, Elaine added as she smiled at her adopted brother as well. They're really close, Misty thought, smiling at seeing how close the three of them were. The group then went around exploring the city, along with stopping at a few shops to purchase supplies for their journey, both for themselves and their Pokémon, knowing they couldn't be too careful. Not knowing how long it'd take to travel between cities and towns. Though they soon stopped at a clothing store, with Elaine and Leaf eagerly dragging Naruto towards it, seeing a chance to get his attention on them and away from the other girl. With Misty following in amusement, knowing this should be good. But Naruto soon finding himself sitting outside the dressing room with Elaine and Leaf in them, while the orange tea sat beside him with an amused smirk on her face. Though it didn't take long before both Elaine and Leaf came out of the changing rooms in their new outfits. With Leaf wearing black shoes with light blue soles, light blue short shorts, a black mini dress with stopped at mid-thigh with light blue edging at the top, and wearing her bucket hat. While Elaine was wearing white and blue sneakers, dark blue spandex shorts that stopped just above her knees, a black shirt, a blue-headed vest, and her cap. What do you think Naruto? Leaf asked while spinning around and posing. Do we look good? Asked Elaine while doing the same, as Naruto blushed slightly since they both looked really great. You both look really nice in those outfits, I think they really suit you both, Naruto said, making both girls smile, pleased to hear he liked the outfits. Great. Cause I really like this dress, but I think I'd need a new hat to go with it, Leaf said, not sure if her hat worked with the dress or not. Worry about it later, since we still have some other outfits to try. And we hope you like them as much as we do, Naruto, said Elaine while smiling at her brother as the girls went back into the changing rooms, eager to show off their other outfits to the whiskered blonde. Later. After the group finished their shopping, with Elaine and Leaf being particularly satisfied at the reaction they got from Naruto to some of the more revealing outfits they got. They all returned to the Pokémon Center to pick up their Pokémon and get some more training done with them. With Naruto, Elaine, and Leaf all being pleased once they started and already saw the improvements their teams were making since Route. While Misty was surprised at seeing the trio train alongside their Pokémon, not expecting them to do that, but was also impressed at seeing them wanting to get stronger with them. Okay, that seems like a good warm-up, now let's move on to learning some new attacks, Naruto said, smiling at their teams, who all perked up in excitement at the chance to learn new attacks. Totodile will be working on you learning Ice Fang and Scald, along with trying to unlock Mud Sport, since that move will come in handy in the Vermilion Gym. Dino, we'll have you learn Incinerate and Shockwave to give you a good variety of moves to use, along with Screech to weaken opponents. And Nidoran, you'll be learning Poison Jab and Toxic Spikes, along with unlocking Confusion, since it will definitely be a nice surprise, said Naruto to each of his Pokémon. Totodile. Totodile nodded with his trainer, eager to learn some new moves. I know. Dino was also eager, especially at learning new type attacks. Neato. Nidoran nodded in agreement, wanting to learn some more moves to have more ways to defeat opponents. For you three, Pikachu will need to make sure you have ways to avoid or resist attacks, so you'll be learning Light Screen, Reflect and Double Team," said Elaine, wanting to make sure Pikachu had a good defense, along with wanting to wait to unlock Volt Tackle until he's stronger and can handle the recoil. Pikachu nodded, willing to admit he didn't have very good defense, given his battle against Squirtle and then being ambushed by the Poochyena. Well, for you Dratini, you'll be learning Agility and Dragon Tail, along with working on unlocking Mist. And for Spearow, you'll be learning Aerial Ace and Twister while working to unlock Steel Wing," Elaine said to her other Pokémon. Dratini nodded eagerly at the moves she'll be learning. Spearow flapped her wings, ready to learn new attacks and grow stronger. As for you three, Bulbasaur, we'll work on teaching you Leech Seed and Razor Leaf while working on unlocking Curse to give your attack and defense an extra kick. Mankey, you'll be learning Karate Chop and Assurance while also unlocking Meditate. And Sandshrew, for now we'll have you work on physical exercises and the moves you already know, since I just caught you. But once you've gotten stronger, we'll be working on teaching you Rollout to go with Defense Curl," said Leaf to her own Pokémon. Bulbasaur nodded at the moves, glad to learn some new attacks and a move to make them stronger. Mankey jumped around and threw some punches, excited to get some new moves. Sandshrew nodded in understanding at his own regimen, but was glad to hear he'll be learning a new move once he's gotten stronger. That's a pretty impressive plan, thought Misty, impressed at how they were training their Pokémon and the moves they're planning to have them learn. It looks like you three have thought a lot about how you're going to train your Pokémon. I think I'm gonna go get some training done myself, Misty said while going to get her own training done, with the trio looking at her in confusion. Aren't you going to train here? Naruto asked, not minding if she joined their training, with Elaine and Leaf nodding in agreement. Yeah, we don't mind if you join us for training, said Leaf, figuring it'd be a good chance to see Misty's other Pokémon and learn more about water types. We could even trade ideas on how to improve our training, and it'd help us learn more about water type Pokémon for when we catch our own, Elaine added, with the orange tea smiling at the trio. Thanks for the offer, and I can still tell you about water type Pokémon if you want to learn, but I want to train on my own. After all, if we're ever going to have a rematch, Elaine, it wouldn't be very fun if we knew each other's tricks. The same goes for both of you, Misty replied with a smirk, surprising the three before they nodded with their own smirks, with Naruto and Leaf also liking the idea of battling Misty. Okay, that makes sense. But that just means we'll be training even harder to win, said Elaine, refusing to lose against Misty. Good, because I don't plan to lose either, stated Misty before she went off to start her own training. Though Misty had another reason for wanting to train alone, given the rumors she's heard regarding her sisters and how they're handling the Cerulean Gym. She knew she'd have to be the one to battle Naruto, Elaine, and Leaf once they reach Cerulean City. And hopefully I can get them to start acting more seriously, thought Misty, letting out a sigh, wishing her sisters would actually take being gym leaders seriously than focusing on their appearances and water ballet. Especially since they were very strong and skilled Pokémon trainers, they just lacked the motivation to really utilize it. Later, the group continued their training for several hours, with Misty rejoining them after finishing up her own, with the trio soon finishing as well. Well, I think that's enough for today, you've all made some great progress, Leaf said while smiling at her team, pleased with how they're coming along. Same to you three, you'll be taking down other trainers and Pokémon in no time, said Elaine to her team. Pikachu chirped in agreement. But for now, let's get some rest for all of you and we can continue tomorrow, stated Naruto before they returned all their Pokémon. I take it your training went well, Misty said as they went to return to the Pokémon Center, with the trio nodding in response. Yeah, it did. We're still working on the moves we want to teach them, but they're all getting the hang of it. But it may be a while for them to unlock any egg moves, Naruto replied while looking at the orange tea, knowing it'll take time for them to learn the new attacks and unlock their egg moves. Though before they could say or do anything else, they stopped when Naruto suddenly bumped into someone, making both of them stumble back. Watch where you're going, loser, said the person in a cold tone, with their voice showing they were a girl, making the group look at them. Seeing it was a girl their age with long wavy black hair with a blue tint and a two-side-up hairstyle, which consists of part of her being hair made put in twin tails that were tied with black ribbons, while the majority hangs loose, pale skin, and onyx black eyes. With her attire consisting of black slip-on shoes, knee-high black socks, black spandex shorts underneath a white pleated skirt, a black belt, a navy blue tank top, and black jacket over it, along with carrying a black and blue messenger bag. Sorry, I wasn't watching where I was going, said Naruto, with the girl letting out a TSK before brushing past him. Clearly. Do yourself a favor and don't get in my way again. The girl said dismissively, making the group frown at her attitude. He said sorry, you don't need to act like a jerk. Elaine said in her brother's defense, with the girl looking at them with a raised brow. And I don't remember asking for your opinion. The girl retorted, making their frowns deepen before Naruto took notice of the pokeballs on her belt. You're a trainer. Naruto stated, with the girl stopping and rolling her eyes in annoyance. Well done in pointing out the obvious. Any other facts you wish to state? The girl asked rhetorically, only to see Naruto step forward. Yeah, I'm Naruto Uzumaki and I'm challenging you to a Pokemon battle, a 3-on-3 match. Said Naruto, wanting to knock her down a few pegs, while the girl looked at him with a raised brow before smirking. Alright, I could use a good warm-up before heading to Pewter City and defeating the gym there. Replied the girl, wanting to get some practice done before taking on the Pewter gym. The 5 trainers then headed to the battle arenas by the Pokemon Center, with Naruto and the girl heading to opposite sides of the ring. Can we at least know your name? Naruto asked, wanting to know the name of who he's battling. It's Satsuki, so you know who beat you. Now let's go Hounder. Said Satsuki, taking out a Pokeball and releasing her Pokemon. It was a quadrupedal canine Pokemon with short black fur and a red underbelly and muzzle. Its ears and tail are both short and pointed. 2 fangs protrude from its upper jaw and its triangular nose is black. There are white bands on its ankles and rib-like ridges on its back. Hounder appears to have a simplistic, stylized skull on its forehead, with the eye orbits creating eyebrow patterning above its actual eyes. It also has circular, red paw pads on each of its 3 toed paws. Hounder. Hounder crouched down and growled at Naruto, seeing they were battling. Whoa, that's a new one. Said Naruto before he, Elaine, and Leaf scanned Hounder with their Pokédexes. Hounder, the dark Pokemon. Hounder travel in packs and communicate through barks in order to surround their prey. Okay then. You're up Nidoran. Naruto said, releasing Nidoran to face Hounder. Neato. Nidoran narrowed his eyes at Hounder, glad for the chance to test himself, while Satsuki pulled out her own Pokédex to scan Nidoran. HMPH, alright. Hounder use bite. Satsuki said, with Hounder rushing towards Nidoran opening his mouth wide open. Dodge at Nidoran and use double kick. Said Naruto, Nidoran jumping over Hounder once he was close enough. Nito ran. Nidoran then flipped and went to kick Hounder, only for Satsuki to smirk. Turn around and use smog. Said Satsuki. Dour. Hounder immediately turned around releasing a thick cloud of black smoke directly at Nidoran, throwing him back from the force of the smoke. Ran. Nidoran hit the ground with a grunt before quickly getting back up and shaking off the hit. Nidoran use Leer. Naruto said, with Nidoran narrowing his eyes at Hounder as they glowed red, making the dark Pokemon shiver as his defense went down. Use Howl Hounder, followed my Ember. Satsuki said, making Hounder throw his head back and Howl raising his attack before charging Nidoran. Hound Dour. Hounder then fired several small fireballs at Nidoran. Dodge through them Nidoran to get in close and use Fury Attack. Said Naruto, making the poison pin Pokemon dodge and run through the fireballs towards Hounder. Not so fast. Hounder use Smog again. Satsuki said, with Hounder releasing another cloud of black smoke at Nidoran. Jump to the side Nidoran, then use Fury Attack. Naruto said, with Nidoran managing to jump to the side, just narrowly missing the smog before slamming right into Hounder's side. Nito ran Nidoran. Nidoran jabbed Hounder repeatedly with his horn, with the final jab sending Hounder skidding back grunting in pain. Hounder use Howl then use Smog all around you. Said Satsuki, Hounder letting out another howl before releasing more smoke while spinning around covering most of the battlefield, obstructing their view. Now use Ember and keep firing it. Satsuki said. Hounder. Hounder began shooting out multiple fireballs from the smoke towards Nidoran. Dodge them Nidoran. Said Naruto, with Nidoran jumping away to avoid the fireballs, only to see they kept coming. Nidoran jump into the air, then use horn attack into the smoke. Naruto said, seeing that's the only place he could avoid them while taking a chance to attack Hounder. Ran. Nidoran nodded before leaping into the air, then diving down with his horn aimed into the smog. Jump up and use Thunder Fang. Said Satsuki, seeing Nidoran wouldn't be able to dodge now, with Hounder immediately leaping into the air, his fangs glowing yellow with sparks of electricity surrounding them. Hound Dour. Hounder managed to bite down onto Nidoran before he could hit him with horn, the poison type crying out as he was bit and electrocuted. Nidoran. Use double kick to break free. Said Naruto in worry for his Pokemon. Then Nidoran. Nidoran managed to focus long enough to slam his foot into Hounder before slamming his other foot into him, the dark fire type grunting at the kicks but didn't let go. Throw Nidoran and finish it with Ember. Satsuki said, making Hounder throw Nidoran into the air before launching more fireballs at him. Nidoran grunted in pain as each fireball hit him before the last impact triggered an explosion with the poison pin Pokemon fall to the ground with swirls in his eyes. "Good job, Hounder," Satsuki said to her Pokemon. "Hounder." Hounder sat down and nodded, pleased at his victory, while Naruto sighed and returned Nidoran. "You did good, Nidoran, now get some rest," said Naruto before pulling out Totodile's Pokeball. "Your turn now, Totodile," Naruto said, releasing his starter, with Satsuki raising brow at seeing a Johto starter before scanning him. Totodile. Totodile looked to see they were battling, making him jump eagerly at the chance to test himself. "Okay, Hounder use Smog," said Satsuki, with Hounder releasing a cloud of smoke at Totodile. "Totodile use Water Gun right through the smoke," said Naruto. "I'll." Totodile fired a blast of water through the smoke, dispelling it and going right towards Hounder. "Dodge it, then use Howl and Ember," Satsuki said, the dark fire type letting out another howl and growing stronger before launching several fireballs at Totodile. "Dodge them, Totodile," Naruto said, with Totodile jumping off to the side avoiding the fireballs. "Get in close and use Bite, Hounder," Satsuki said quickly. "Our." Hounder immediately rushed Totodile and went to bite down on him. "Slide underneath Hounder and then use Headbutt," said Naruto, surprising Satsuki as Totodile managed to slide under Hounder. Totodile. Totodile then jumped right up, slamming his head into Hounder's jaw, making the dark Pokemon grunt in pain at his mouth being slammed shut. "Now use your own bite, Totodile," Naruto said. Totodile jumped above Hounder before biting down on his back, making Hounder cry out at being bit. "Hounder, throw him off quickly," said Satsuki, with Hounder thrashing about to get Totodile to let go, only for the big jaw Pokemon to hold firm. "Jump into the air and flip to slam Totodile into the ground," Satsuki said. Hounder jumped into the air before flipping around, so his back was towards the ground, before diving down. "Let go and then use Water Gun, Totodile," Naruto said, Totodile doing so as he released Hounder, resulting in Hounder slamming into the ground himself. Totodile fired a blast of water that slammed into Hounder, sending him crashing into a tree. "Oh Hounder." Hounder tried standing up to keep fighting, only to fall over with swirls in his eyes. "Alright, way to go, Totodile," Naruto cheered while smiling at his starter. Totodile jumped around in excitement at winning the battle, while Satsuki returned Hounder. "You did good," Satsuki stated before pulling out another Pokeball. "Elekid, you're up," said Satsuki while releasing her second Pokemon. Elekid is a yellow, round-bodied Pokemon with black stripes. Elekid's arms are bulky in proportion to its body, and it has 3 claws instead of fingers. It has 2 stripes on its arms, which wrap all the way around. There are 2 horns on top of its head which resemble the prongs of a plug, complete with holes in their sides. Elekid has a black lightning bolt marking on its chest. 2 rows of stripes are near the marking, with the pattern continuing around its lower back. Its legs are black and its feet are rounded and toeless. "Elekid, huh?" said Naruto as he and the girls scanned Elekid. Elekid, the electric Pokemon. Elekid is the pre-evolved form of Electabuzz. It generates electricity by spinning its arms. "Totodile return," Naruto said, returning Totodile, knowing he'd be a bad matchup against Elekid. "Let's go Dino," said Naruto, releasing Dino, which did surprise Satsuki at seeing such a Pokemon, which she scanned as well. "Already revealing all 3 of your Pokemon while I've only shown 2. Let's see how far that'll get you." "Elekid use Charge, then use Thunder Punch," Satsuki said, with Elekid starting to spin his arms around, building up electricity that sparked off of him. Elekid then charged towards Dino with his fist glowing yellow, while sparking with electricity. "Dodge it, Dino, then use Focus Energy and Dragon Breath," Naruto said, with Dino jumping out of the way of Elekid's Thunder Punch before being surrounded by dark blue aura. Dino fired a stream of pale purple fire at Elekid, managing to deal greater damage after spotting Elekid's weak spot, making the electric Pokemon cry out as he was thrown back. "Elekid use Shockwave," said Satsuki, with Elekid grunting before standing up and spinning his arms around again. Elekid then fired a large bolt of blue electricity towards Dino. Dino quickly used Dragon Breath again, Naruto said, knowing they couldn't dodge that, with Dino releasing a stream of pale purple flames towards the bolt. The 2 attacks clashing against each other, each trying to overpower the other, until soon they both exploded. "Jump into the air and use Karate Chop," said Satsuki, with Elekid immediately leaping into the air, using the explosion and smoke as cover. Elekid then dived down towards Dino, his arm glowing white, before bringing it down on top of the irate Pokemon, Dino crying out at the hit as he was thrown back. "Dino use Bite," Naruto said, with Dino managing to get back up and charge Elekid to use Bite, with Satsuki waiting until he was close enough to make her move. "Dodge to the side and use Low Kick, Elekid," Satsuki said, the electric Pokemon sidestepping Dino before sweeping his leg out, tripping Dino up and sending him skidding across the ground. Now use charge and shockwave, said Satsuki. Elekid once again began spinning his arms and building up electric power. Elekid then fired a blue bolt of electricity at Dino, electrocuting the dark dragon type. Dino, said Naruto in worry for his Pokemon. Now finish it with another karate chop, Satsuki said, making Elekid charge towards Dino with his arm glowing white. Dodge it quickly Dino and then use tackle, said Naruto, with Dino struggling to get up before managing to do so. They know. Dino was able to dodge Elekid's karate chop and tackle him in the side, not seeing Satsuki's smirk. Use karate chop with your other arm Elekid, said Satsuki, surprising Naruto and Dino as Elekid suddenly switched to his other arm. Elekid struck Dino with karate chop, throwing the irate Pokemon back across the battlefield. Dino. Dino tried to stay standing up only to soon fall down with swirls in his eyes, making the whiskered blonde sigh before returning him. Good job Dino. Looks like it's up to you Totodile, Naruto said as he released Totodile, while Satsuki smirked believing she had the match won now. Totodile use Leer, said Naruto, with Totodile glaring at Elekid who shivered as his defense went down. Use your own Leer, Elekid, then use Thunder Punch, said Satsuki, making Elekid return the glare making Totodile shiver as his own defense went down before the electric type charged Totodile. Elekid's fist glowed yellow with sparks of electricity as he charged towards Totodile. Jump to dodge a Totodile then use Headbutt, Naruto said. Totodile jumped into the air, dodging the Thunder Punch before diving down and slamming his head against Elekid. Now use Water Gun, said Naruto, with Totodile immediately opening his mouth and firing a blast of water at Elekid sending him skidding back across the field. Use Leer again Elekid, followed by Low Kick, Satsuki said, making Elekid glare at Totodile again lowering his defense even more before charging the water type. Totodile dodge and use Bite, Naruto said, the big jaw Pokemon charging Elekid before dodging to the side to avoid his kick. Elekid quickly use Karate Chop, said Satsuki. Elekid immediately turned with his arm glowing white and chopped Totodile on the side of his head, knocking him back before he could bite the electric Pokemon. Now use Charge and Shockwave, Satsuki said, making Elekid start spinning his arms around to build up electricity. Elekid then fired a bolt of blue electricity straight towards Totodile. Totodile use Water Gun to propel yourself into the air, Naruto said, with Totodile getting up and firing a jet of water at the ground, launching himself into the air. That won't save you, said Satsuki with a smirk as the bolt following Totodile. Now dive down and use Headbutt before flipping over Elekid, said Naruto. Totodile did so and dived down towards Elekid, slamming his head into Elekid's before flipping over him, with the bolt still following after the water type. Only for Satsuki and the girls to be surprised when rather than hit Totodile, the bolt instead crashed right into Elekid due to being in the way of it and Totodile. Elekid, Satsuki said as her Pokemon cried out as his own attack hit him. Now hit him with Water Gun, Naruto said, with Totodile releasing a jet of water at Elekid, crashing right into the electric Pokemon with the water only strengthening the shockwave, damaging him further. Elekid, try and redirect the shockwave towards Totodile, said Satsuki, with Elekid gritting his teeth before managing to spin his arms around. Elekid was able to direct part of the shockwave through the water towards Totodile, electrocuting him as well. It wasn't long before both attacks ended, with Totodile and Elekid both standing up and panting, before the electric type soon fell backwards with swirls in his eyes. Elekid twitched from the water-boosted electricity, making Satsuki sigh and return him. Way to go Totodile, said Naruto, grinning at Totodile only to see him panting. Are you still good to go, Totodile? Naruto asked in worry, given that's 2 battles he's had to fight, plus the training from earlier. Do Totodile? Totodile nodded to his trainer, refusing to give up now when they're so close to winning. Your Pokemon still wants to battle even after all that. Good, cause this battle doesn't end until one of us wins. Now let's win this Cyndaquil, said Satsuki, refusing to let the battle end undecided before throwing out her final Pokemon. Cyndaquil is a small, bipedal Pokemon with bluish fur on top of its body and cream-colored fur on its underside. Its eyes are closed and it has a long thin snout. Its arms are short but its legs are slightly more developed and have a single nail on each foot. On its back are 4 red circles. Cyndaquil got ready with flames shooting out of his back. Cyndaquil. That's one of the other Johto starters, Naruto muttered before he and the girls scanned it. Cyndaquil, the fire mouse Pokemon. Normally mild and even-tempered, Cyndaquil will shoot a scorching flame out of its back when upset. Okay, if you can still go, then let's go Totodile. Use Water Gun, Naruto said. Totodile. Totodile fired a jet of water towards Cyndaquil. Dodge it and use quick attack, said Satsuki, with Cyndaquil jumping out of the way of the water gun. Cyndaquil quill quill Cyndaquil. Cyndaquil sped around the battlefield before slamming into Totodile, knocking him back. Now use Ember, Satsuki said, with Cyndaquil's flames intensifying as he was about to fire his attack. Quick Totodile, use Headbutt to knock Cyndaquil away, said Naruto, with Totodile managing to slam his head into Cyndaquil, knocking the Fire Mouse Pokemon away before he could launch any fireballs. Get in close and use Bite, Totodile, Naruto said. Totodile rushed towards Cyndaquil with his mouth open wide to bite down on him. Cyndaquil used Defense Curl, said Satsuki, with Cyndaquil immediately rolling up into a ball while his flames extinguished themselves just as Totodile bit down onto him. Now while you're curled up, use Flame Wheel, Satsuki said, much to Naruto's surprise before Cyndaquil's body erupted into flames, make Totodile cry out as he was forced to let go. Though Totodile then cried out again as Cyndaquil began rolling and slammed into the Big Jaw Pokemon, pushing him back and burning him. Totodile, Naruto said in worry for his starter. Now, let's finish it, use Aerial Ace, said Satsuki, leading to Cyndaquil launching itself into the air and unrolling himself. Cyndaquil then dived down towards Totodile with white streaks surrounding his body, the Fire Mouse Pokemon flying through the air before crashing into Totodile. Totodile was sent crashing into a tree before he struggled to get up only to soon hit the ground with swirls in his eyes, much to Naruto's disappointment at seeing he lost the battle. Well done, Cyndaquil, Satsuki said while smiling slightly at her Pokemon. Cyndaquil smiled at his trainer, happy at having helped her win the battle, while Naruto returned Totodile. You all did amazing, said Naruto, smiling since his team still did a great job before he turned to Satsuki, who returned Cyndaquil and looked at him. That was a really great battle, you must have trained your Pokemon a lot to get them that strong, Naruto said, with Satsuki letting out a TSK and crossing her arms. Of course I have. It's why I won the battle, because I trained my Pokemon to be their absolute best, said Satsuki while looking away, before glancing at Naruto. And I suppose you've trained your Pokemon to be pretty good and strong as well, just not as strong as mine, Satsuki added, willing to admit that even if she won the battle, she is impressed at how far Naruto managed to push her. Thanks, but it looks like I still have a lot of training to do. Cause the next time we battle, I'll be winning, Naruto replied with a smirk, which Satsuki returned. We'll see, stated Satsuki, actually interested in battling Naruto again to see how much stronger he would be the next time they meet. Before the Ravenet then headed towards the Pokemon Center to get her team looked at while Elaine, Leaf and Misty approached Naruto. That was a really great match Naruto, but sorry that you lost, said Elaine, sad that her brother lost the battle when he'd been so close to winning. Yeah, you were really close, but I'm sure you'll get her next time, Leaf added to cheer him up over losing his first battle. Leaf's right, with enough training, I'm sure you can beat her in your next battle, said Misty, with Naruto smiling and nodding at the girls. Thanks, and while I'm disappointed that I lost, I'm not that torn up about it. If anything, I'm only fired up for the next time I see Satsuki and get to battle her, Naruto replied, determined to get stronger so that next time they encounter Satsuki, he'll be the one that'll win. Later. The group had returned to the Pokemon Center, handing their Pokemon to Nurse Joy again for the night to rest and recover before heading to their rooms. With Naruto staying in one by himself while Elaine, Leaf and Misty were sharing a room. That Satsuki girl was really strong, especially those Pokemon she has, Leaf stated, not thinking they'd see a trainer that strong so soon into their journey. Yeah, I've never seen Pokemon like them before either, but I think she may have gotten them in the Johto region, since Cyndaquil is supposed to be a starter there, said Elaine, remembering all the starters Professor Oak had and that Cyndaquil came from Johto like Totodile. Johto's the neighboring region to the west and it's filled with lots of different Pokemon you won't find in Kanto. While you may encounter them here, they won't be as common as they are in Johto, Misty said, having read up on Johto to see what kind of water-type Pokemon are there. That sounds so cool. I hope we can go there one day to see all the Pokemon they have there, Elaine said in excitement at the idea of traveling to the Johto region. Hold your horses, Elaine, focus on Kanto first before thinking of going to another region, said Leaf since they've barely begun their journey in Kanto, making the brunette nod before they looked to Misty. By the way Misty, you know we're from Pallet Town, but where are you from? Asked Elaine, curious of where Misty is from. I'm from Cerulean City, which also has a gym, the Cerulean Gym to be precise, Misty replied, intriguing the two brunettes. That's pretty interesting, and I guess we know what our next stop can be after Vermilion City, Elaine said, given how close Vermilion City is to Cerulean City, with Leaf nodding in agreement. Yep, which will make 2 badges. And what about your family? And siblings? Leaf asked, making Misty sigh and nod. Yeah, I have 3 older sisters, Daisy, Lily and Violet. Though, we aren't very close since they were always the favored ones while I was just the runt little sister, which only got worse as we got older and they got prettier. Excluding me from everything they do. It's actually part of why I left on my own journey, so I could finally have something of my own in becoming a water-type specialist. Revealed Misty before she frowned, since despite how her sisters annoyed her with how they acted, along with bullying and exclusion, she still cared about them. Which made it hurt to hear how they were acting as gym leaders, or not acting in this case, not taking the position seriously or seeming to even care. Despite her trusting them to look after the gym while she was away, hoping they'd at least do that for her. While Elaine and Leaf frowned at hearing how Misty's sisters treated her, before smiling and sitting beside the orange tea. Well, if we see them when we go to Cerulean City, we'll make sure they start treating you better. Leaf said, surprising Misty while Elaine nodded in agreement. That's right. And Naruto will definitely show them that they should care about you and spend time with their sister, rather than push her away. Added Elaine, knowing how much Naruto cared about family and would definitely knock some sense into these 3. You really don't have to do that. I can handle them myself. Said Misty, not wanting them to get caught in her sisterly drama. Nope, sorry, but we are and will. We're friends after all. Elaine stated, surprising the orange tea again. Yep, and friends look out for each other and help with each other's problems, even if it's with their own siblings. Added Leaf, making Misty look between them before smiling at the other girls. Okay, if you insist. But just so you know, my sisters can be rather stubborn. Said Misty, knowing that's putting it kindly since they could be more absent-minded and brushing others off. Elaine and Leaf merely smirked, knowing that Naruto would merely take that as a challenge to show them just how stubborn he can be. But Naruto. Meanwhile, Naruto was laying on the bed in his own room, unable to help but think about Satsuki and their battle. She really is an amazing trainer, and who knows if she had any other Pokémon with her or what other Pokémon she'll catch. If I'm gonna battle her again, then I'll really need to up my training. Thought Naruto, wanting and hoped to encounter Satsuki again to see how much stronger she'll become and show her how much stronger he'll be. Which also made him more determined to reach the Pokémon League, knowing without a doubt that Satsuki will be there as well. And the whiskered blonde refused to lose to his new rival. Though Naruto soon turned off the lights and called it a night, wanting to get as much sleep as he can for the next day. So, what did you think? Good. Yep, we see Leaf catching a Sandshrew just before they arrive in Viridian, where they then are met by Officer Jenny and learn about Team Rocket attacking the Pokémon Center. Given they weren't in a hurry to Viridian and arrived a day late, only Team Rocket was still stopped but taken into custody this time around, so don't expect them to be showing up. As for why I just don't like those 3. Then we see them arriving at the Pokémon Center where Naruto and Elaine call Delia and tell them what's happened so far, leaving out the part of Elaine getting hurt before they along with Leaf are called by Professor Oak, who they tell about seeing Ho-Oh, with Oak in turn telling them about the legendary Pokémon and the Rainbow Hero. Next the group head out into Vidian City to explore, getting to know Misty along with bonding between Naruto, Elaine, and Leaf, before they then get started on training and teaching their team some new moves. Then we see the appearance of Satsuki Uchiha and her own Pokémon battling against Naruto, with Satsuki ultimately winning, but needing to work for it, leading to a growing rivalry between her and Naruto. Finally we see the girls talking with each other, while Naruto is thinking about Satsuki and how strong she is. So, review if you liked, go away if you didn't. The next day, the group had left Vidian City and began traveling down Route 2, where they eventually reached a fork in the road. With one road leading to Viridian Forest and the other leading to Diglett's Cave, with the 4 trainers heading down the one towards Diglett's Cave. We're so close, we just need to get through this cave, and then we'll be at Vermilion City, where we'll be getting our first gym badge. Elaine said in excitement, psyched that she, Naruto and Leaf will be getting their first badge soon. Pika Pika. Pikachu shared his trainer's excitement at getting to battle at a gym, even better that it'll be other electric types he can show his strength to. She's certainly excited, isn't she? Misty stated in amusement, having encountered other trainers who were excited about challenging the gym leaders and winning badges, but Elaine seemed even more excited. Yeah, Elaine never was one to be able to hold her excitement. Whenever she's focused and excited about something, it's impossible to get her to calm down. Said Naruto while smiling at his adopted sister, finding how excitable she is adorable. Which also usually leads her to getting in trouble or breaking an alarm clock and sleeping in. Leaf said while smirking at Elaine, making Elaine stick her tongue out at the other brunette. Though I'm more interested to see what Pokémon we'll encounter in Diglett's Cave, I mean other than Diglett and potentially Dugtrio. Added Leaf, curious of what other Pokémon they'll see in the cave, with Naruto and Elaine nodding in agreement, also curious of what Pokémon will be in the cave. I've actually been in Diglett's Cave before, I went through it to get to Viridian City. Misty revealed, getting the trio's attention. Really? Why didn't you go through Pewter City and Vidian Forest? Questioned Elaine, given that seemed like the obvious route to go since she's from Cerulean City. How did you even get your bike through the tunnel? Naruto asked, doubting a cave had the best ground to ride a bike on. I'm just not that good with bug-type Pokemon, so I try to avoid going through routes or locations that they live in, if I can. And I just had to push my bike through, I was just lucky the cave wasn't that long. Replied Misty, having a fear of bug-type Pokemon unless they're cute and pretty to look at. Anyway, I did see some Pokemon when I was going through, aside from the Diglett and occasional Dugtrio, I saw some Zubat, which isn't that surprising since they're always found in caves. But I even saw a Bronzer and a Makuhita, which were definitely a surprise to see in Kanto. Misty said, much to the shock of Naruto, Leaf, Elaine and Pikachu. Wow, I didn't think there'd be a Hoenn and Sinnoh native Pokemon in the cave. Said Leaf, given how rare Hoenn and Sinnoh Pokemon were in Kanto. Yeah, but that just makes it even more exciting if they're in there. Elaine stated while smiling eagerly, now wanting to explore all of Diglett's cave to see the Pokemon inside. Definitely. If there's a Makuhita and a Bronzer inside, who knows what other Pokemon we'll run into. Said Naruto, also eager to get to Diglett's cave and explore it, with Leaf nodding in agreement, hoping they'll see other Pokemon from different regions inside. It wasn't long before the group reached the mouth of the cave before heading down inside, with Naruto, Elaine and Leaf being amazed at just how big it was, along with the maze of tunnels they saw. Whoa, this place definitely bigger than I imagined. Leaf stated as they walked down one of the tunnels, seeing all the branching paths, getting nods from the others since it was really big. Yeah, but it's not surprising, given all the Diglett and Dugtrio that live here, they're probably digging new tunnels all the time, while old ones collapse. Said Naruto, knowing the Diglett and Dugtrio would make new tunnels all the time. Well, hopefully we'll still be able to make it out without any trouble. Do you still remember the way you came through, Misty? Elaine asked while looking at the orange tea, only to see an unsure look on her face as she looked at the various tunnels. I don't really recognize any of these tunnels. I didn't think that new ones would have been made this quickly since I last came through, but I'm not sure if the way I went hasn't collapsed from a cave-in. Replied Misty, seeing that the tunnels already changed from when she first come through, much to the others' concern as they looked at all the tunnels. Now seeing that with new tunnels constantly being made and old ones being sealed off from cave-ins, then it'll never be the same from when someone first enters. Being completely different on the next visit, meaning the way to the exit will constantly be changing as well. Well, let's just Naruto said, thinking it'd be best if they searched for the exit at the other end, then see about catching some Pokemon, so they'll at least be close to the exit. Before he was cut off when they felt the ground start shaking, making their eyes widen before they saw the tunnel they were in was starting to collapse behind them. Not needing to say anything, the four instantly took off running down the tunnel as fast as they could. Only to feel the tunnel collapsing faster than they could run, forcing them to jump down a different tunnel to avoid getting crushed. Resulting in them getting separated as Naruto and Misty jumped down one tunnel while Elaine, Leaf and Pikachu jumped down another tunnel. Managing to escape just as the tunnel collapsed behind them. Are you alright, Misty? Naruto asked while coughing from the dust created by the collapse. Why yeah, I'm fine. Replied Misty while waving the dust away as they got up, only to be worried when they didn't see Elaine, Leaf or Pikachu. Elaine. Leaf. Naruto shouted in worry for his adoptive sister and friend, hoping that they didn't get trapped. We're here. We're all here and safe. Elaine yelled through the rocks, much to the two's relief. We might be able to get through if we can move these rocks. Leaf said, thinking they could get back together by getting through the rocks. No. That's too dangerous, we don't if it'll cause another cave-in. Just keep moving through the tunnels to the exit, we'll be able to meet up there. Said Naruto, not wanting to risk another cave-in or either of them getting hurt. Okay. Good luck you two, hopefully we'll be able to get out of here soon. Elaine replied, with Naruto and Misty nodding in agreement. Hopefully. Good luck and stay safe, there's no telling how old some of these tunnels are. Misty shouted, knowing they should still be careful in case they have any more cave-ins. The same goes for you both, we'll meet you at the exit. Said Leaf, before Naruto and Misty could just barely make out the sound of their footsteps, with the two soon beginning to start walking as well to get to the exit. With Misty looking at Naruto, seeing his expression and the way he seemed to be moving at a slightly faster pace than her. The orange tea being able to tell just how worried he was about Elaine and Leaf, wanting to make sure nothing happened to them. They'll be alright, don't worry. Misty said smiling at him reassuringly, being able to tell that Elaine and Leaf will be able to get out of the tunnel safely. I know, Elaine and Leaf are a lot stronger than they look. I don't want anything to happen to them, especially if I'm unable to do something to try and help them. Replied Naruto, unable to help but worry about his adopted sister and friend, with Misty nodding and understanding at his concern. Does that have to do with why you don't like Team Rocket? Did something happen to you three involving them? Misty asked hesitantly, but also curious to find out, with the whiskered blonde stopping for a moment and looked at her before sighing. Nothing happened to us directly, but it did involve me. My parents, my birth parents, were killed by Team Rocket. My dad was one of Professor Oak's students, along with Elaine's mom and my adopted mom, and he had been researching Pokemon, research that Team Rocket wanted. They tried forcing him to hand it over, but when he refused, a fight broke out between my parents and Team Rocket, and they died. I was just a baby at the time and was taken in by Delia as her son and Elaine's brother. Naruto revealed, much to Misty's shock and sadness that happened. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened. I can see why you don't like Team Rocket, Misty said, which Naruto waved off. Thanks, but I've accepted what happened, knowing there's nothing I would have even been able to do, and I'm happy to be Delia's son and Elaine's brother. But any mention of Team Rocket just puts me in a bad mood since they're still criminals that steal Pokemon, and I hadn't been expecting to hear about them so soon into the start of our journey. Replied Naruto, making the orange tea smile slightly, seeing how mature he was in being able to accept what's happened and keep moving on. Well, I'm sure Elaine and Leaf are happy to have you looking out for them, Misty stated, seeing why he's so worried and protective of both brunettes, with Naruto nodding at her words. Yeah, I'd do anything to make sure they're safe, along with any of my friends and the people I care about, Naruto said, refusing to lose anyone he cares about. Though what about you, Misty? You're from Cerulean City, right? What about your family? Naruto asked, having heard she's from Cerulean City after they left the Pokemon Center, curious to learn more about her. That's right, I'm sure we'll be going there since there's also a gym. As for my family, I have 3 older sisters, Daisy, Violet and Lily, though we're not as close as you and Elaine are, Misty said, making the Uzumaki frown at her words. How close are you 3 then? Questioned Naruto, only for Misty to sigh and shake her head. We aren't really close. They always saw me as just their runt little sister, who wasn't as pretty or talented as them. They're actually the main reason I left home and began traveling to become a water-type Pokemon master and show them I can be talented as well, even more so than them. Explained Misty, with Naruto's frown deepening at hearing how Misty's sisters treated her. They shouldn't treat you like that, you're their sister, they should be helping you and encouraging you to be great. Are they even trainers? Naruto asked, with Misty nodding in response. Yeah, they're trainers and I'm sure they can be really good ones, but they just don't put in the effort to really train themselves or their Pokemon. Preferring to focus on their looks and performing water ballet. Misty replied, given what she's heard about them, they're focusing more on their water shows than actually acting as gym leaders. Then I don't think they have anything to say since, from what I've seen, you're already a pretty great trainer, Misty. I'm sure you're doing your best to train and raise your Pokemon. Stated Naruto, making the orange tea smile at him in thanks. Thanks Naruto, and yeah, I train all my Pokemon and want them to be their very best. And despite how they may treat me and how they act, they're still my sisters and I care about them. I just wish they'd take things more seriously. Said Misty while letting out a sigh, before looking at Naruto when he put a hand on her shoulder and smiled at her. It just means I have even more of a reason to knock some sense into them when we go to Cerulean City. Making sure they start treating you better and caring about as their little sister, while also seeing if we can get them to start acting more like trainers. Naruto said, refusing to do nothing while Misty's sisters act like that, causing Misty to smile and giggle lightly. You know Elaine and Leaf said you'd do that when I told them about my sisters. Said Misty, seeing the other girls weren't kidding when they said Naruto would knock some sense into her sisters. And they're right. I'm not going to let anybody mess with my friends, even their own family. Replied Naruto, making Misty's smile widen. Alright, though I'll tell you the same thing I told them, my sisters can be pretty stubborn. Misty said, only for the whiskered blonde to smirk at her. They don't know what stubborn is until they meet me. Naruto stated confidently. I'm sure. Thought Misty, starting to see that Naruto can be a rather stubborn person, refusing to give up on something when he sets his mind to it. And for the record, I don't let anybody mess with my friends either. Just letting you know in case someone tries messing with you, Elaine or Leaf. Said Misty, making Naruto smile and nod. I'll feel sorry for anyone that gets in your way. Naruto replied as they continued down the tunnel, hoping to reach the exit soon. And for the record, I think you're pretty Misty. Added Naruto, believing Misty was pretty no matter what her sisters would say, not seeing the orange tea blush at his words before quickly forcing it down. But Elaine, Leaf and Pikachu. Meanwhile Elaine, Leaf and Pikachu were going down another tunnel, hoping to reach the exit soon to wait for Naruto and Misty to arrive. Both girls being confident that Naruto and Misty will be fine, given how they knew Naruto wouldn't let a cave-in stop him and will keep Misty safe. Though that left Elaine and Leaf to glance at each other occasionally, both of them also knowing this is one of the rare few times it's just them. The two already knowing what the other was thinking and that it's something they need to talk about. So you like Naruto? Elaine stated, with the other brunette simply nodding in response. Yes, I do. There isn't anything not to like about him, he's kind, caring, brave, plus he likes my quirks and even my scams, which he's also helped me with a few times. I can't really imagine being able to like any other guy the way I like Naruto. And I'm sure you can say the same. Said Leaf while looking at Elaine, only to see her flinch slightly and look away in shame. I wish I could. Elaine muttered, much to Leaf's surprise. Why? You've known Naruto longer than I have. You've probably even liked him longer than I have. Leaf said, not expecting Ellen to wish she could like another guy. Because he's my adopted brother. He's my brother and I love him more than a sister should. Said Elaine, feeling ashamed she's in love with Naruto even though they're adopted siblings. I wish I could just love him as a sister, but I can't. Like you said, he's all of that and so much more, he's always been there for me. Helping me whenever I needed it, comforting me when I'm sad, but also letting me make mistakes so I can solve them and learn from them. And he's always supported me through everything and fully believing in me that I can become a Pokemon master. He's my best friend and how couldn't I fall for him? Elaine asked rhetorically, with Leaf looking at her with wide eyes, seeing that she really did love Naruto before she hugged Elaine, surprising her slightly. It's alright Elaine, you have nothing to be ashamed about loving Naruto. I'm sure anyone in your position would have ended up falling for him, regardless of if he's their adopted brother or not, I know I would have. Said Leaf, knowing if Naruto had been her brother she'd likely still fall for him. But he's my adopted brother. Said Elaine, which was really what's been holding her back to simply teasing and clinging to Naruto, rather than trying to tell him how she felt. So what? Like you said, he's your adopted brother, you aren't actually related, so there's no harm done. If you're worried about how Naruto would react, remember how he looked at you when we were trying on clothes, that's definitely not a brother looking at his sister. That's a boy seeing a beautiful girl in front of him. Leaf said, making Elaine blush at remembering how Naruto looked at her, feeling pride she could get a reaction like that from him. But my mom, Elaine said, not sure how her mother would react. We'll still love and support you both, no matter what. You know how overprotective she is, I doubt you and Naruto being together will stop that. Elaine, if you truly love and care about Naruto then don't stop pursuing, don't give up until you can be with him. Said Leaf while smiling at her friend. Pikachu. Pikachu nodded in agreement with Leaf, supporting his trainer's choices and decisions if she wanted to be with Naruto. With Elaine being surprised at Leaf's support of her wanting to be with Naruto, even Pikachu was supporting her in pursuing her adopted brother. Why would you say that? You want to be with Naruto too, why would you encourage me to keep pursuing him? Elaine asked in confusion, only for Leaf to smile and pull her into a hug. Even if we both like the same guy Elaine, we're still friends. And sure we may butt heads in getting his attention and one-upping each other, but that doesn't mean I want to lose you if it means getting Naruto. You're both my closest friends and I'm not going to lose either of you because of some petty jealousy. Leaf replied, much to Elaine's surprise before she soon smiled and returned the hug. You're one of our closest friends too, Leaf. And you'd never have to worry about losing me, as we'd be friends no matter what. You also definitely don't have to worry about losing Naruto, the only way he'd leave you alone is if you asked him, and probably not even then. Said Elaine, making the other brunette giggle and nod in agreement, knowing Naruto would never abandon his friends. So then, no more butting heads or one-upping each other. Both of us like him and no matter who gets Naruto first, we'll still be friends and support each other. Elaine said, smiling at Leaf as they separated, only to see Leaf smirk at her. I don't know Elaine, I did say I couldn't see myself liking another guy, I didn't say anything about another girl. Maybe I really want you and Naruto. Said Leaf slyly while leaning in close to Elaine, whose entire face turned bright red while leaning back. Hahaha, why you're joking right? Elaine asked with a nervous smile, with the other brunette merely smilingly slyly at her until she suddenly pulled back and laughed. Hahaha, you should see your face. I'm sorry, I just couldn't resist. Leaf said unable to help herself, while Elaine's blush vanished while gave her friend a mock glare until Leaf calmed down and smiled at her. But yeah, no more butting heads and we support each other in pursuing Naruto. We both love and care about him, so there's no reason we should fight each other over him. Added Leaf, making Elaine smile and nod in agreement. By the way, you know why I like Naruto, but when did you start liking him? Questioned Elaine, wondering when Leaf first started liking Naruto, with the brunette smiling as she recalled when she first started liking Naruto. Flashback. I think I lost him. Oh man, that was close. Thought 7-year-old Leaf as she panted while running through forest, only to look behind her and see she wasn't being chased anymore. The reason she'd been running was due to having pulled another one of her usual scams, with this one being her selling fake evolution stones. Having managed to collect a bunch of rocks from the forest and paint them to resemble different evolution stones. With Leaf then selling them to any trainers passing through Pallet Town. But things going well as she was able to convince trainers they were real, even if they were being sold by a kid, and collect a good amount of money. Until a trainer showed up who actually had a Pokémon that could evolve with an evolution stone and tried using it then and there. Knowing she'd be caught, Leaf had quickly grabbed the money she made and snuck away, the brunette immediately running after the trainers started chasing after her. Note to self. Next scam should just target regular people and not trainers. And get Naruto's help in case we need to run again. Leaf thought, not wanting to get chased by a group of angry trainers and their Pokémon again, though couldn't help but snicker to herself. Still can't believe they all fell for these things. Stated Leaf, pulling out one of the fake leaf stones she made before throwing it into the forest as she turned around to make her way back to Pallet Town. Pidgey. Freezing at the sudden cry, Leaf slowly turned around only for her eyes to widen when she saw a Pokémon standing on a rock. It was a small plump-bodied avian Pokémon. It is primarily brown with a cream-colored face, underside, and flight feathers. On top of its head is a short crest of 3 tufts. The center crest feathers are brown and the outer 2 tufts are cream-colored. Just under its crest are its narrow eyes which have white sclera and pupil, along with its blacker eyes. Angular black marking extend from behind its eyes and continue down its cheeks. It has a short, stubby beak and feet with 2 toes in front and 1 in back. Both its beak and feet are grayish pink. It has a short brown tail made of 3 feathers. Leaf shook as she recognized it as a Pidgey, which was currently glaring at her with a bump on its head. And nice, BB bye birdie. Leaf stuttered as she slowly backed away, jumping when the Pidgey angrily flapped its wings at her. One thing not many people knew about Leaf was that she was deathly afraid of birds and bird-type Pokémon after an incident with a Dodrio. Having accidentally run into it during her latest scam at the time, resulting in it chasing after Leaf and pecking at her. Which made the girl afraid of going anywhere near bird-type Pokémon. DG go, away. Screamed Leaf before pulling out another fake evolution stone and threw it at the Pidgey, which the tiny bird Pokémon dodged, squawking angrily at Leaf. The girls then looked up only for her fear to increase dramatically at seeing an entire flock of Pidgey were now glaring at her. Leaf shook at the sight, unable to think or move at the sight of so many Pidgey, all of them looking very mad at her for attacking one of them. Before cried out in fear when they all began rapidly flapping their wings, unleashing a combined gust attack against her. Though before she could be hit, Leaf was suddenly pushed out of the way of the attack, the brunette looked only for her eyes to widen in shock and horror. Seeing that Naruto had pushed her out of the way and get slammed into a tree by the gust. Then Naruto. Leaf said in fear and worry that he took an attack meant for her, with the Uzumaki grunting in pain, but managed to stand up before pulling out a handful of acorns which he threw at the Pidgey, momentarily distracting the flock at the resemblance to their prey seated. "Come on," said Naruto, grabbing Leaf's hand and running away from the Pidgey before they could notice the trick. What are you even doing here?" Leaf asked, not expecting him to suddenly show up. "I saw you being chased by those trainers and that you ran into the forest. I was able to trick them into going in the opposite direction, saying that's the way you went. Then I came in here after you to make you were alright. I'm sorry I didn't get here sooner before those Pidgey attacked you." Naruto replied, much to Leaf's surprise that he got the trainers off her back. "You really did that?" said Leaf, with Naruto merely smiling at her. "Of course I did. We're friends and I'm always gonna look after you, Leaf," said Naruto, making the brunette look away with a light blush on her face, though smiled at Naruto's words. Then flashback. "That's when I knew I liked Naruto as more than just a friend and wanted to do the same for him, to always look after him like he did for me," Leaf said as she finished telling Elaine when she first started liking Naruto, with the brunette smiling at hearing what her adopted brother did. "Yeah, that definitely sounds like something Naruto would do," stated Elaine, knowing Naruto wouldn't hesitate to put himself between his loved ones and a group of angry Pokémon. "Is that also when you started getting over your ornithophobia?" Elaine asked, given how while Leaf was still scared of birds, it wasn't as bad as it used to be. "Yeah. I didn't want something like that to happen again, so I started working on getting over my fear," replied Leaf, being able to at least be able to look at and be near bird-type Pokémon, like Elaine's Spearow, with it still triggering in extreme cases. "Well, I'm glad everything at least worked out in the end. Now come on, let's get to the exit and hope that both Naruto and Misty show up soon," said Elaine, with Leaf nodding in agreement as they continued on their way down the tunnels. "With Naruto and Misty. Another dead end," Misty said in annoyance as she and Naruto ended up at another dead end, having already come across 3 other ones in their search for the exit. "I don't even know if this is another dead end or we're just going in circles at this point, cause everything looks the same down here," said Naruto, also annoyed that they still haven't found their through the tunnel. "Ugh. At this point it'd be faster just to dig straight up," Misty said as at least then they'd know which way they were going and be outside in a few moments, only for the whiskered blonde to shake his head. No, there's no telling if there's another tunnel above us with how far down we could be, or this may end up collapsing on top of us. And even if we did dig our way out, we'd still be lost and have no way of knowing where we were. Naruto said, making Misty sigh in annoyance, knowing he was right. I know, I just want to get out of this tunnel. Maybe we could try leaving a trail so we can see where we've already been before and go different direction. Suggested Misty since it may be able to work, with Naruto nodding in agreement. That could work, eventually we should find a path to the exit as long as the tunnels don't change too quickly. Replied Naruto, the orange team nodded in agreement before they turned to head down the tunnel with their new strategy in mind. Only to be forced to stop when the ground began shaking, making their eyes widen that another tunnel could be collapsing. Before to their growing fear, the tunnel was collapsing in front of them, leaving them no chance to try running down another. Acting quickly, Naruto grabbed Misty and pulled her close against him before pressing them against the tunnel wall to shield her. Luckily the shaking soon stopped, only for Naruto and Misty to see that their only exit had been completely closed off, leaving them trapped with no way to escape. Are you alright, Misty? Naruto asked, looking at the orange tea who nodded shakily. Why yeah, I'm fine. But what are we going to do? We're trapped and now we have a limited amount of air. Said Misty, trying to remain calm despite internally freaking out, knowing they couldn't risk using up the air they now had left. Right now we need to move those rocks, at least enough to where we can get some more air through here, then we'll think of something. Replied Naruto, knowing they had to move the rocks or they'll suffocate, something Misty agreed with before they both went over to the rocks. Looks like all that time in the water is going to pay off. Thought Misty, relieved that she's able to hold her breath for extended periods of time from all her swimming. Naruto and Misty quickly and carefully started removing the rocks, knowing they needed to be careful in moving them, as one wrong move could cause them all to collapse on top of them. Along with being unable to have their Pokémon help due to the limited air and food they had, so they couldn't risk it. Plus none of their Pokémon were really strong enough to make a difference at the moment. Note to self. Get a Psychic-type Pokémon or teach my Pokémon a lot of Psychic moves if they can learn them. Thought Naruto, knowing it'd be easier if any of his Pokémon knew Psychic-type moves. If I survive this, I'm making sure Staryu and Starmie learn plenty of Psychic moves. Misty thought, mentally cursing herself for not having Staryu and Starmie learn any Psychic-type moves, swearing to rectify that if they get out of here. So, you seem pretty good at controlling your breathing. Misty stated while looking at Naruto, noticing how he seemed able to take small, measured breaths of air, making her curious and wanting a distraction from their current predicament. Yeah, I used pull pranks when I was younger, some of which could get really messy or create a really bad smell. I learned how to control my breathing whenever a prank went wrong. Elaine and Leaf can do the same since they'd sometimes help me. I'm guessing you're good at holding your breath from swimming. Naruto replied, with the orange tea nodding in response. That's right. I used to go swimming all the time growing up, even more so when I developed an interest in water-type Pokémon and wanted to learn more about them. Said Misty, making Naruto smile. Maybe you can show me how good you are in the water once we get out of here. Said Naruto, refusing to believe they won't be able to get out of this, while Misty smiled and nodded at his words. As long as you tell me about some of these pranks you pulled. Misty replied, interested in hearing more about them. Definitely. Said Naruto as they continued moving rocks. The two continued moving the rocks before they soon started coughing as the air level kept dropping even with their minimal breathing. Before Misty remembered something as she reached into her bag, pulling out a handheld rebreather. I just remembered I packed this for searching for water-type Pokémon underwater. But I only have the one. Misty said while looking at Naruto apologetically, having not thought to pack more rebreathers since she'd been planning to travel alone. It's fine, we can switch between who uses it, you go first. Replied Naruto, with the orange tea nodding before putting the rebreather in her mouth, relieved when she was able to breathe more deeply before she began moving the rocks more quickly. But this continuing for a few moments, as Naruto and Misty both switched between who uses the rebreather, managing to start clearing the rocks away more quickly. But could see they still weren't any closer to getting through them all, and their remaining air was now getting dangerously low. Combined with their physical exhaustion from having to move the rocks, it was making it difficult for them to keep moving and stay conscious. All the rations they had were also getting low as well from needing to keep their strength up. I think that's nearly all of them we should be able to try pushing the rest away. Misty said, feeling lightheaded from lack of oxygen, while seeing they've gotten rid of the bulk of the rocks and could push them without worry of getting crushed, before turning to Naruto. And Naruto why you have to move them why you're yourself, I can't said Misty, doubting she'll be able to last long enough to help move the rocks, before her eyes widened when the rebreather was suddenly shoved into her mouth. You need this more Naruto muttered, refusing to let Misty pass out and die from lack of air, preferring if she at least made out of here. The orange tea screaming at him through the rebreather, not wanting him to actually sacrifice himself for her. Only for her eyes to widen in shock, fear and panic when Naruto collapsed to the ground unconscious. No, 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 no. Thought Misty before quickly turning to the rocks and began pushing against them as hard as she could, now desperate to get them out of the way before Naruto died. Come on, come on, come on. Move you damn rocks. Misty thought, grunting as she rammed her shoulder against the rocks, but they wouldn't budge despite her efforts. Looking at Naruto's unconscious body, the orange tea began panicking that she wouldn't be able to get them out in time. Not sure what she was supposed to do or how she'd be able to face Elaine or Leaf if she failed to save the Uzumaki. Eren, 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 Eren. Tensing at hearing the sudden call, Misty looked around before her eyes widened when she spotted some rocks shifting before falling away, revealing a Pokemon stepping through the small opening. It was a quadrupedal Pokemon with 4 stubby legs and a large round head. Its body is black with plates of grey armor covering its head, back, and legs. Throughout its body are small openings in the armor. There are 6 openings on its head, with the largest 2 being openings for its pale blue eyes and 1 opening on either side of the spike on its back. A single blunt spike protrudes from its back. An Eren. Thought Misty in disbelief while watching the Eren jump to the ground and began eating the rocks before her eyes widened that there was now an opening through the rocks. An opening that was letting air in. Taking out the rebreather, Misty took several deep breaths before quickly crouching down in front of the Eren. Eren. Please, I need your help, my friend, he's not breathing and I need to get through these rocks so I can save him. Please, can you help me push past them? Misty said quickly and pleadingly, with Eren looking at her. Eren. Eren tilted its head before looking at Naruto, the unconscious human, surprising Eren, before it looked at the rocks it came through after it got separated from its pack. Being able to put together what happened, Eren looked back at Misty and nodded its head. Eren. Eren ran across the sealed chamber with its body tensing before flashing white and shining, before it then charged towards the rocks and slammed its head into them, making Misty smile in relief as they finally began moving. Thank you, Eren. Misty said as she began pushing against the rocks, now finally able to feel them shifting and moving, with Eren helping by using headbutt against the rocks. Eren, 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 Eren. Eren ran to the very back of the chamber before running as fast as it could at the rocks and used takedown, succeeding in smashing right through the rocks and breaking through into the rest of the tunnel. Yes. Cheered Misty at finally being free, before she quickly grabbed Naruto and lifted him up, pulling the Uzumaki out of the chamber and into the open tunnel. Laying him down, Misty's relief vanished and was replaced by fear when she saw Naruto still wasn't moving, only being relieved to see he still had a pulse. I'm not letting you die. Misty thought as she began performing chest compressions before pressing her mouth against his to breathe air into his lungs. Repeating this a few times, the orange tea starting feeling her worry and panic growing that he wasn't waking up. Come on, come on, come on, please wake up. Said Misty pleadingly before pressing her mouth against his and blowing as much air as she could into his mouth, feeling relief and joy as she felt Naruto start moving under her. Quickly pulling back, Misty smiled as Naruto gasped and coughed, happy to see he was alright and still alive. Did we get out? Naruto asked, his voice sounding raspy, with Misty nodding in response. Yeah, we got out, thanks to Eren over there. Misty replied while smiling at Eren, with the whiskered blonde being surprised. Whoa, and Eren, didn't think we'd see one of them here. But thanks Eren, you really saved us back there. Said Naruto, smiling at Eren, with the iron armor Pokemon eye smiling at them. Eren. Eren raised its leg at the humans, glad it was able to help them. Looking back at Misty, Naruto flinched when she suddenly slapped him across the face. What the hell were you thinking? Forcing me to take the rebreather, nearly getting yourself killed. If it wasn't for Eren showing up, you could have died. Misty shouted, angry at Naruto for doing that, not sure what she would have done if he really died. But you'd at least still have a chance to live. And if it was between you and me escaping, I'd make sure you escaped even if it killed me. Naruto stated, not caring if he died, preferring that than seeing someone he cares about dying. And what about Elaine and Leaf? What was I supposed to tell them if I was able to get out? Demanded Misty, with the Uzumaki flinching slightly, knowing how much that would have hurt them. They'd know I'd do the same thing for them as well, if it meant protecting someone I care about, then it'd be worth it. Said Naruto, making Misty's glare falter. You said Misty, only to have nothing to say before simply throwing her arms around Naruto and hugged him tightly, making Naruto wince slightly since his chest still hurt, but returned the hug. Thank you, but I swear if you think of doing something that reckless again, I will beat some self-preservation into that thick skull of yours. Misty said, unable to deny she's also thankful that Naruto would go that far for her, despite them having just met. As long as you're safe, that's all the thanks I need. Replied Naruto, smiling at Misty before they both stood up and dusted themselves off. Eren. Ron, Eren, R. Eren walked up to Naruto and Misty, tugging at the Uzumaki's pants leg, getting their attention. Only for the two to see Eren pointing down the tunnel before it began walking, making the two look at each other. "I guess Eren wants us to follow," Naruto said, with Misty nodding in agreement. "Well, better than getting lost or trapped again," said Misty, figuring Eren would know its way through the tunnels before they began following the Pokemon, hopefully to the exit. But Elaine and Leaf. Meanwhile, Elaine and Leaf had kept walking down the tunnels, eating some of their rations as they did so, with both girls having felt the shaking from the collapsing tunnel. The two being relieved when no tunnel was collapsing near them, though both still worried about Naruto and Misty. "Do you think Naruto and Misty felt the shaking? Could they have been near a collapsing tunnel?" Elaine asked, worried for her adopted brother and their friend. "I'm sure they're fine, it'll take a lot more than a collapsing tunnel to keep Naruto down. And Misty seems pretty tough too. And if they were near a collapsed tunnel, then I'm sure they would have gotten away from it," replied Leaf, with the other brunette nodding. "Yeah, I'm still worried though," Elaine stated, with Leaf nodding as she put a hand on her shoulder. "I am too, but it won't do us any good worrying. What will is finding the exit and getting out of here to meet up with them," Leaf said as they continued on their way. Only for them to stop when they spotted two Pokemon up ahead of them. The first is a bipedal Pokemon with a bulky build. Most of its body is yellow, but it has a black marking on its chest that extends around its neck. Its round hands resemble black boxing gloves, but its feet are yellow with two visible toes. On its cheeks are red ring-shaped markings, and it has slit-like eyes. On top of its head is a knot, which causes it to resemble a punching bag. And the second is a flat, circular blue-green Pokemon. 6 dark blue spheres bulge from its rim. It has 2 round, yellow eyes and a large nose-like sphere surrounded by 4 small circles in its center. A crest resembling an herb branches on its back. "Whoa. A Makuhita," Elaine whispered, so they didn't startle the Pokemon. "And a Bronzer," said Leaf, not believing their luck in actually encountering these two Pokemon before they quickly pulled out their Pokédexes and scanned them. Makuhita, the Guts Pokemon. Makuhita never gives up, always getting back on its feet, no matter how many times it's knocked over. Each time rising to its feet builds up energy in its body. Bronzer, the Bronze Pokemon. Ancient people believed that the pattern on Bronzer's back contained a mysterious power. "Oh man, I can't believe we're lucky enough to encounter these two. Which one do you want to try catching, Leaf?" Elaine asked while looking at her friend. "I'm going for Bronzer, since I already have Mankey for a fighting type," replied Leaf, eager to catch the Steel Psychic type Pokemon while pulling out Sandshrews' Pokeball. "Sweet. Then I can catch Makuhita," Elaine said while pulling out Spearows' Pokeball. "Let's go, Sandshrew," Leaf said, throwing the Pokeball and releasing Sandshrew. "You're up, Spearow," said Elaine, releasing Spearow as well. "Shrew." "Spearow." But this getting the attention of Makuhita and Bronzer, the two Pokemon spotting Elaine, Leaf and their Pokemon, realizing what was happening. Bronzer. Bronzer began spinning at a fast speed, and 3 light blue rings surround its body, before launching itself at Sandshrew. "Sandshrew used defense curl," said Leaf, with Sandshrew curling up into a ball just as Bronzer crashed into him. "Now use rapid spin," Leaf said. Sandshrew. Sandshrew began spinning at high speeds, with the two Pokemon grinding against each other with their attacks before being sent flying away from each other, before Bronzer caught itself and Sandshrew landed on his feet. "Okay, Spearow, use Gust on Makuhita," Elaine said, with Spearow flapping her wings rapidly, unleashing a powerful gust of wind on Makuhita, throwing it back. Makuhita hit the ground before getting back up and flexed its arms with its muscles getting bigger, with its hands then glowing orange, which it clapped together releasing a shockwave. The shockwave making Spearow flinch and lose her balance in the air, with Makuhita then charging the tiny bird Pokemon. Makuhita managed to get in close before rapidly hitting Spearow with alternating hand strikes. "Get out of there, Spearow, and use Leer, followed by Peck," said Elaine, with Spearow managing to fly away from Makuhita before glaring at the fighting type, make it shiver as its defense went down. "Spearow." Spearow then dived towards Makuhita and began pecking at it repeatedly, knocking Makuhita back before giving a final peck to its head. Meanwhile, Bronzer's eyes glowed purple and it released dark purple beams from its body at Sandshrew. "Dodge it quickly, Sandshrew, then get in close to use Fury Cutter," Leaf said, with Sandshrew being able to jump out of the way and avoided the Confuse Ray before rushing Bronzer. Sandshrew. Sandshrew. Sandshrew managed to get in close before it began slicing at Bronzer with his claws, each successful hit making the attack stronger, before the final hit sent Bronzer crashing into the cave wall. Bronzer's body tensed before it began spinning rapidly, creating a ring of energy around it which it then launched at Sandshrew, with the attack slamming into the ground type and making him cry out as he was knocked back through the tunnel. Sandshrew. Are you alright? Leaf asked, seeing how powerful that attack was and the damage it did. Sandshrew. Sandshrew managed to get back up and nod at his trainer, still able to keep battling. Bronzer's eyes then suddenly glowed blue before a blue outline surrounded Sandshrew and lifted him up. That must be confusion. Said Leaf before seeing Bronzer was slamming Sandshrew into the tunnel's walls. Sandshrew used defense curl, then use rapid spin. Leaf said, getting an idea for how to win. Sandshrew. Sandshrew managed to curl into a ball, increasing his defense before he started spinning rapidly, with Bronzer struggling to maintain control with confusion, only for Sandshrew to succeed in breaking free. Alright. Now bounce around the tunnel and slam into Bronzer. Leaf said, with Sandshrew doing so as he began bouncing across the tunnel's walls before slamming into the bronze Pokemon, not giving Bronzer any time to retaliate. Spearow, now use Pursuit. Said Elaine, with Spearow charging right towards Makuhita, who was able to dive out of the way in time. Makuhita then swung its arm at the ground throwing sand at Spearow, making her cry out as the sand got in her eyes. Makuhita then charged Spearow thrusting its palm forward, releasing a light blue shockwave at Spearow. Dodge at Spearow and then use Gust again. Elaine said, with Spearow managing to fly out of the way of the attack before flapping her wings rapidly. Spearow flapped her wings at Makuhita, creating a powerful gust of wind that threw Makuhita back against the tunnel wall. Now use Peck. Said Elaine, Spearow diving straight towards Makuhita and began pecking it repeatedly, giving a final peck that knocked it back and sent it skidding across the ground. Okay Sandshrew, finish it with Fury Cutter. Said Leaf after Sandshrew had slammed into Bronzer several times, with Sandshrew uncurling and pulling his claws back. Sandshrew slashed his claws across Bronzer's body, making Bronzer cry out as it was sent crashing into the tunnel wall. Now's my chance. Go Pokeball. Elaine and Leaf said at the same time, each throwing a Pokeball at Makuhita and Bronzer respectively. The two balls bouncing off the Pokemon before opening up and sucking them in, Elaine and Leaf watched them shake for a few moments. Waiting to see if they'll be successful captures or if they'll keep battling. Before they both smiled when they both went still pinched. Alright. We caught a Makuhita. Elaine cheered while picking up her newly caught Pokeball. Spearow flew in the air, happy at having won the battle with her trainer and helping catch a new Pokemon. Pikachu also cheered at the successful battle and having a new teammate. Way to go Sandshrew. We got ourselves a Bronzer. Said Leaf, smiling happily at catching such a Pokemon. Sandshrew smiled along with his trainer, proud to have won his first battle and get a new teammate. With Elaine and Leaf then releasing their new Pokemon before scanning them to check their stats. Makuhita. Gender. Male. Ability. Thick Fat. Mavasat. Force Palm, Sand Attack, Arm Thrust, Focus Energy, Fake Out. Bronzer. Gender. Genderless. Ability. Heatproof. Mavasat. Gyro Ball, Confusion, Tackle, Confuse Ray, Payback. You're a strong one aren't Makuhita? We're happy to have you joining us. Elaine said while smiling at Makuhita. Makuhita held out his fist to his new trainer in respect. The same for you Bronzer, you've got some awesome moves. Said Leaf, pleased at how strong Bronzer is. Bronzer moved its body in what looked like a nod. By the way, do you two happen to know where the exit is or be able to help us find it? Questioned Elaine, wondering if they'd be able to help them find the exit. Makuhita nodded and pointed down a tunnel, with Bronzer floating down it. Guess we'll be getting out sooner than expected. Leaf stated, with Elaine nodding in agreement as they returned Spearow and Sandshrew before following Makuhita and Bronzer. With Naruto and Misty continued following Aaron, now wondering if it was leading them to the exit or somewhere else. Only to be surprised and amazed when they soon arrived in a large underground spring. Okay, not an exit, but just as good. Naruto stated, with Misty nodding in agreement. Very good. Added Misty before they rushed over to the water and eagerly began drinking the fresh water, sighing in relief at getting something to drink before they also refilled their water bottles. Thanks Aaron, that's twice you've saved us now. Said Naruto, smiling at the iron armor Pokemon who was drinking the water alongside them. Aaron I smiled at the whiskered blonde, figuring that they'd like getting some fresh water since the exit was still a long ways away from their current location, even more so with the constantly shifting of the tunnels. Make that 3 times, since fresh water means fish to catch, and that means food as well as water to drink. Misty said, opening her bag and pulling out her fishing rod, putting it together to catch them some fish to eat. Great, I'm starving. Said Naruto while taking out his own fishing rod, eager to catch some food. It didn't take long before Naruto and Misty managed to catch several fish before they got a fire going to cook them over. Neither of the two hesitating to dig in once they were finished cooking, relieved to have actual food and get rid of their exhaustion and tiredness. "Ah, I never thought fish could taste so good," Misty stated after they'd eaten their fill, with the Uzumaki nodding in agreement before his eyes drifted to Eren who was eating rocks with a thoughtful expression. Something Misty noticed as she looked between Naruto and Eren before it clicked for her what he was thinking. "Are you going to catch Eren?" Misty asked, with Naruto nodding in response. "I want to, since Eren would definitely be a great addition, especially with how it saved us back there. It'd be a good Pokemon to have in emergencies, like that," Naruto replied before getting up and going over to Eren. "Eren?" Eren stopped eating and looked up at the human, tilting its head curious, while Naruto smiled at the Pokemon. "Hey Eren, you've really helped us out a lot and we couldn't thank you enough. Though I'm wondering if you'd consider letting me catch you and joining my team. I know you'd make an amazing addition and be able to help us even more," said Naruto while pulling out a Pokeball, surprising Eren that he wanted to catch it. Eren looked at the Pokeball for a moment before walking past Naruto until it was a good distance away from him. Eren looked at Naruto with narrowed eyes, making the whiskered blonde smirk as he stood up. "You want to battle rather than just be caught. Alright then, let's battle. Come on out Totodile," Naruto said, taking Totodile's Pokeball before releasing his starter. Totodile jumped and kicked his legs before seeing Eren, turning serious at seeing they were going to battling. "Totodile use Leer and then use Bite," said Naruto, with Totodile glaring at Eren who shivered as its defense went down. Totodile then charged at Eren, jumping into the air before diving down towards it with his mouth wide open to bite down. Eren though tensed as its body flashed wide and shined, increasing its defense just as Totodile bit down on it, only to flinch at biting down on the metal armor. Eren then rushed towards the cave wall, flipping around and slamming Totodile into the wall, forcing the big jaw Pokemon to let go. Eren's body was then surrounded by a wide outline before large rocks shot up around Totodile, trapping him, with the steel rock type charging towards Totodile head first. "Get out of there Totodile then use water gun," said Naruto, with Totodile jumping out from the rocks just as Eren smashed through one of them. Totodile unleashed a blast of water at Eren, slamming into the iron armor Pokemon and throwing it against the wall. "Alright. Now use Leer again and then headbutt," Naruto said, making the water type glare at Eren and lower its defense again, with Totodile then charging at Eren who charged as well. The two Pokemon slamming their heads against each other, making them both flinch as they went skidding away from each other. Eren narrowed its eyes before its body flashed wide and glowed, increasing its defense, before leaping into the air as its leg glowed bright white, slashing it across Totodile and knocking him back. Totodile went skidding away from Eren, grunting at the hit but stayed standing. "Okay, use Bite again Totodile," said Naruto, making Totodile charge Eren again, jumping up and biting down at the steel rock type's back. Eren didn't react to the bite before charging towards a wall to slam Totodile into again. "Release and use Leer Totodile," Naruto said quickly at the last second, making Totodile let go of Eren and glare at it, lowering its defense just as it slammed itself into the wall. "Now use water gun," said Naruto, with Totodile opening his mouth wide open to attack. Totodile released a large blast of water that slammed into Eren, knocking it back into the wall. "Now use Leer while keep using water gun," Naruto said, the big jaw Pokemon nodding as he glared at Eren, further lowering its defense. "Okay, now rush towards Eren and use headbutt," said Naruto. Totodile stopped firing water and charged at Eren, smashing his head into the iron armor Pokemon, knocking it across the cave. Eren struggled to get back up, refusing to back down now. "Here's my chance. Go Pokeball," Naruto said, throwing a Pokeball at Eren, the ball bouncing off its head before sucking Eren inside. Watching the ball shake a few times, the whiskered blonde soon grinned happily when it stopped and gave off a ping sound. "Yeah. We caught an Eren, Totodile," Naruto cheered as he picked up the Pokeball. Totodile grinned and danced around happily at having won the battle and gotten a new teammate. "Now come on out Eren," said Naruto, releasing Eren, who looked at its new trainer. Eren I smiled at Naruto, not minding getting caught by the trainer and seeing it'll be able to grow much stronger with him, while Naruto scanned Eren to check its stats. Eren, the iron armor Pokemon. Eren has an impressive defense power and eats iron ore in order to build up the metal in its body. Eren. Gender. Male. Ability. Rock Head. Moveset. Headbutt, Harden, Metal Claw, Rock Tomb, Takedown. "Nice moves, I knew you'd make a great addition Eren," Naruto said while smiling at Eren. "Congratulations Naruto, you've definitely gotten a strong Pokemon," said Misty, happy for her friend to have gotten a Pokemon like Aaron, knowing he'll be really strong with the right training, even more so once he evolves. Whoop. Though before Naruto could reply, everyone's attention turned to the sudden sound, only to see a Pokemon emerging from the water. It was a mostly blue amphibious Pokemon that resembles an upright, armless axolotl. Its head is large compared to its body, and it has small, round, black eyes. It has purple branching gills on either side of its head. It stands on two small, round feet, and it has a large thick tail. On its belly are dark blue curved markings. It's a Wooper. Misty said in excitement at finding a Wooper down here. Wooper huh? Said Naruto before scanning Wooper. Wooper, the waterfish Pokemon. Though they prefer to live in cold water, these appealing Pokemon forage for food on land. They are kept warm by a layer of insulating body fluid. Wooper is a water ground type, right? Naruto said while looking at Misty, who nodded in excitement. That's right. Which makes it one of the best water type Pokemon, since electric type moves don't affect it. And I have to catch it. Said Misty, knowing it'd be great to have a Wooper with its immunity to electric type attacks, the main weakness of water type Pokemon. Let's go Poliwag. Misty said, releasing Poliwag to battle Wooper. Holy. Poliwag landed on the ground across from Wooper, narrowing her eyes at her opponent. Wooper. Wooper tilted its head in slight confusion before narrowing its eyes. Use bubble Poliwag. Said Misty, with Poliwag shooting multiple clear bubbles at Wooper, who didn't bother dodging as its cheeks puffed out. Wooper. Wooper then released a blast of water that blew past the bubbles towards Poliwag. Poliwag quick, use water gun to throw yourself into the air. Misty said. Wag. Poliwag fired a blast of water at the ground, launching herself into the air and avoiding Wooper's attack. Now use body slam followed by double slap. Said Misty, with Poliwag throwing herself at Wooper before slamming into the waterfish Pokemon. Poly Poliwag. Poliwag then slapped Wooper in the face with her tail multiple times. Wooper. Wooper took the chance to release a blast of brown mud at Poliwag, throwing her back against the cave wall and blinding her. With Wooper then releasing a thick cloud of white mist around itself, furthering hindering Poliwag's vision. Oh no. Misty muttered, now unable to see where Wooper could be hiding, while Poliwag was still unable to see. Poliwag spin around and fire bubble all around you. Said Misty getting an idea, while Poliwag began spinning and unleashing dozens of clear bubbles all around her. Now launch yourself into the air with water gun again. Misty said. Poliwag. Poliwag did so and fired a blast of water at the ground, propelling herself into the air. Okay now use body slam where the popping bubbles are. Said Misty after hearing some of the bubbles popping, knowing that's where Wooper was hiding. Holy. Poliwag nodded before throwing herself into the air, succeeding in hitting Wooper as the water ground type cried out and was thrown out of the mist. Wooper stood up from the hit before opening its mouth and releasing a large blue bubble that it's fired towards Poliwag, the bubble popping in her face. Holy Poliwag. Poliwag blinked a few times before she started feeling drowsy, making Misty's eyes widen that Wooper used yawn. Wooper. Wooper then fired another stream of brown mud at Poliwag. Quick Poliwag, use water gun. Misty said, knowing she had to act fast before Poliwag fell asleep. Poliwag. Poliwag fired a blast of water that collided against Wooper's stream of mud. Now quickly flip over it and use double slap. Said Misty, with Poliwag managing to quickly flip over the attacks towards Wooper, slapping it in the face repeatedly with her tail. Holy wag Poliwag. Poliwag gave a final slap that sent Wooper skidding back and falling down. Okay, here we go. Go Pokeball. Misty said throwing a Pokeball at Wooper, watching as it bounced off its head and sucked it inside. Waiting a few moments as the Pokeball shook, Misty smiled brightly once it stopped and let out a ping. Woohoo. I caught a Wooper. Way to go Poliwag. Misty said happily at her new Pokemon, only to notice that Poliwag had now fallen asleep from yawn, making the orange tea smile at her before returning Poliwag. You did a great job, get some rest. And come on out Wooper. Said Misty while letting Wooper out of its Pokeball. Whoop. Wooper looked up at its new trainer before Misty picked it up and hugged it. Ah, aren't you just the cutest thing? Misty cooed, making Wooper smile at the affection before Misty looked at Naruto. Hey Naruto, could you check Wooper's stats for me? Questioned Misty, while making a mental note to get a Pokédex herself, so she didn't have to keep asking for Naruto, Elaine or Leaf to check her Pokémon stats for her. Sure. Naruto replied while pulling out his Pokédex and checking Wooper's stats. Wooper. Gender. Female. Ability. Unaware. Mavacet. Water gun, mist, tail whip, mud slap, yawn. Wow, not only a cute girl but a really strong one. Misty said while smiling at Wooper, happy to have gotten such a great Pokémon. Wooper. Wooper smiled at her new trainer, happy that she likes her. Yeah, she's a strong one alright. Maybe she can also help us get out of here, like Eren," said Naruto, making the orange tea nod in agreement as she set Whooper down. "Whooper, do you think you could help us get to the exit?" Misty asked, with Whooper tilting her head before Eren walked up. Eren, 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 on, Eren. Eren motioned to Naruto and Misty before pointing to the tunnels as he explained things to Whooper. Whoop. Whooper. Whooper jumped up and nodded her head, knowing where they wanted to go, and quickly motioned them to follow her. "Looks like we'll be getting out of here," stated Naruto, smiling at the chance to get out of the tunnel while returning Totodile. "Definitely, let's go," Misty said, also relieved they'll be getting out soon before she and Naruto followed after Eren and Whooper. Time skip 4 days. "There it is," Misty said, smiling in relief and happiness as she and Naruto followed Eren and Whooper to the exit, being able to see daylight just ahead of them. "Finally. I didn't think we'd ever get out of here," said Naruto, also happy they could actually see daylight again after 4 days in the tunnels, even better that they'd reunite with Elaine and Leaf soon. With the trainers and their Pokémon soon arriving at the mouth of the exit, panting at having run all the way here, not wanting to take any chances of any tunnels suddenly collapsing or changing. "We made it, we finally made it," said Misty as she panted, relieved they could finally leave. "Yeah, now we just need to," Naruto said before he was suddenly glumped by 2 blurs. "Naruto, you're here," Elaine said, smiling joyfully that her adopted brother was here. "We're so happy you're safe," said Leaf, also happy her friend Crush is safe and got here the same time as them. "Elaine, Leaf. I'm really happy to see you two again," said Naruto, smiling as he hugged his adoptive sister and friend, relieved they made it here as well. "Glad to see you two made it out in one piece," Misty said while smiling at the brunettes, though couldn't help but feel some annoyance at how tightly they were holding Naruto, only to blink in confusion at this. "Huh? That was weird. Why am I annoyed? I'm happy that we're all back together again, safe and alive, but do they have to hug Naruto so tightly?" thought Misty while feeling her eye twitch in annoyance before she smiled when Elaine and Leaf hugged her as well. "We're happy to see you too, Misty. Happy that all of us made it out of there," Elaine said, with Leaf nodding in agreement. "And it looks like you both got some new friends as well," stated Leaf while seeing Eren and Whooper. "Yeah, we did, Eren is mine and Whooper is Misty's. But I see we aren't the only ones with some new additions either," Naruto said while looking at Makuhita and Bronzer. "Yep. Bronzer is my newest Pokémon, while Makuhita is Elaine's," Leaf said with a smirk, with Elaine nodding in agreement. "That's not all, we also got some training done as well. Pikachu's managed to learn Double Team, Dratini learned Agility and unlocked Mist, and Spearow learned Twister. While Bulbasaur learned Leech Seed and unlocked Curse, Mankey learned Assurance and unlocked Meditate, while Sandshrews gotten much stronger and started learning Rollout," Elaine said proudly of her Pokemon's training, making Naruto and Misty smile. "That's really great, Misty and I got our own training done. Dino managed to learn Shockwave, Nidoran learned Poison Jab and is starting to unlock Confusion, and Totodile learned Scald and unlocked Mud Sport. And Misty also trained with Poliwag and she's unlocked Mud Shot," said Naruto, making the brunette smile. "Then it looks like getting stuck down here wasn't so bad, getting some new Pokémon and some training done. But now let's get out of here and on to Vermilion City," Leaf said, with Naruto, Elaine and Misty nodding in agreement while they returned their Pokémon to their Pokeballs. But that done, the group exited Diglett's cave, much to their relief at being back outside, before making their way down Route 11 and towards Vermilion City. What if Naruto adopted by Delia Pokémon end here, and thanks for watching my video till the end.